Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. It's an exciting day because the world's the, the- a Nazi with a breeding fetish has become the world's first trillionaire. That's where we are, folks. That's where we are. What a shitty matrix we're in. We are in the worst of all possible universes. I'm gonna get into a bunch of details about this IPO of SpaceX, why it's a scam, how and what an insane scam it is. And let's see, I saw someone in the chat already say, Anthony in the chat already said, trading is voluntary. It's not theft, because I titled the video SpaceX Moves to Steal Americans' Money. But as we'll get into, not all of it is voluntary. Plenty of money will be invested in SpaceX unbeknownst to average Americans. All of that, and we'll talk a bit about Iran as well, and much more coming up right now. Please click thumbs up, click share, click subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's get started. So, Elon Musk, neo-Nazi with a breeding fetish who has never invented or built anything. And you could say he founded a bunch of things, but not really. He found a bunch of things. He found a bunch of things. PayPal, where he made his first billion, was not his invention. He bought his company, and then he became head of it for a while. Tesla, he did not found, even though he's tried to erase the original creators of Tesla. So many of these things, and I'm sure whoever the first person to come up with the Starlink idea, I'm sure it wasn't him. Anyway, and it goes on and on. But he bought Twitter. He found Twitter. So he's very good at finding things, and he's very good at being very rich. And just to remind you of how much $1 trillion is, sometimes I change the calculations when I do this just to keep things exciting. But I want everyone to know that you too can be like Elon Musk. You too can become a trillionaire if you just work hard enough. And to show you how easy it is, if you here in the United States make $50,000 after taxes, which is not a bad amount after taxes, $50,000 a year, that ain't bad. You only have to work for 20 million years and never spend a dollar, of course. But if you work for just 20 million years, you too will have as much money as Elon Musk, and I'm sure all of that will be worth the same in 20 million years. So just keep, you just got to keep your head down and work. People don't realize that you just got to work and not worry about what else is going on, and you'll get there. Just 20 million years. Get started. Hey, think of this though. If you're one of those rich people out there and you make $100,000 after taxes, it'll only take you 10 million years to make as much as Elon Musk. Now, I will add in here that Elon Musk is a trillionaire if you count his stock valuation, and stocks are garbage until you sell them. They don't actually count as real money until you sell them. If he were to sell all of his, let's say, Twitter stock, his Twitter X stock, then X would collapse. Like it would go bankrupt. So yeah, you got to add some caveats there. He doesn't have it all in cash money. I bet if he goes out to a nice dinner right now, he probably has to ask someone else to pay because it's all wrapped up in stock, I'm sure. But anyway, first trillionaire, SpaceX has begun trading. The IPO, initial stock offering, was today. And we're going to get into some of the details of just what a spectacular scam this is, which fits with Elon Musk's kind of like, par for the course, a standard operating procedure. This is how he operates, and it's going great. This is from the New York Times showing how SpaceX today stacks up compared to the other world's largest IPOs, largest initial stock offerings. And you can see on this tiny chart that the previous largest stock offering, right as it starts, like first day ever, was Saudi Aramco, the oil company, and it was down around $40 billion it like raised $40 billion on that day. Sorry, it raised $30 billion. Oh, 30 by today's inflation. Jesus, inflation's been rough. 38 billion by today's inflation. That's not the valuation. That's how much money was raised on that day, how much money was dumped into their stock that day. SpaceX has nearly doubled it. Also almost like 75, 80 billion dollars in one day. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. The super chats do help. And yes, Master Jack in the comments says he is a product of apartheid South Africa. That is absolutely true. And his father, he grew up in South Africa. His father's from them and owned an emerald mine, or was part of a emerald mine. Like he didn't own it all himself, but and it's not like Elon Musk has said, "Oh, apartheid South Africa is so horrible. I'm so glad we're past those days." Instead, he has tried to create a false story about genocide against white people in South Africa. So he's gotten like Twitter to facilitate these fake stories in order to try and push this idea that there's a genocide against white people in South Africa. It's complete garbage, complete bullshit. And he has never, he very much loved the idea of apartheid. But let's keep going here. I want to bring you some of the details of just how insane this SpaceX offering is. And then we'll also talk about how insane the stock market in general is. But SpaceX, the evaluation today, after it went up, after it first started offering it today, but the valuation came to $2.2 trillion. $2.2 trillion. That makes it the 7th largest company in the U.S. on its first day. Amazon right now has a valuation of $2.54 trillion. So Amazon's a little bit ahead of SpaceX, and SpaceX has been a public company for one day. SpaceX is also not profitable yet. So their entire valuation really just rests on the word, on the promise of the guy who always lies to us about everything and is the world's richest man and the world's richest Nazi and the world's richest Nazi with a breeding fetish. He's all of those things. And it really just rests on his word, which is kind of incredible since you could go down the list. I mean, I don't have them all in front of me of how many times he has lied, flat out lied, or given false predictions. A lot of those were about Tesla because that used to be his main thing. But all these false, right? It was all Teslas were going to be, automatic driving, full-time automatic driving by, 2022 or whatever. He said we were going to have someone on Mars by 2025. Now he's pushed it to 2030 or something, but that's not happening either. It's all garbage predictions. And yet the valuation of this company is based on this lunatic's word, him just telling us stuff's awesome. And here's how insane SpaceX is. So you'd have to, in order for SpaceX to be worth 2.2 trillion, you'd have to assume that the potential for growth is incredible, that it's going to just have this incredible growth. SpaceX now, for the IPO, combines essentially 3 companies. It combines SpaceX, that was initially just the rocket ships, and Starlink, which is the satellites that allow you to have connectivity anywhere in the world. And it combines xAI, Elon Musk's AI company, large language model company, which is, by the way, xAI is behind all the other AI companies. It's behind Anthropic, behind ChatGPT. It's not showing the growth and achievement that they are. The only of the 3 that have now been bundled together under this SpaceX IPO, the only one that's profitable is Starlink. Starlink profited $4.4 billion last year. And we're supposed to believe that little tiny piece of profit is enough to justify SpaceX being worth $2.2 trillion. XAI, the AI company, lost $3 billion last year. So basically, XAI lost almost as much as Starlink made last year. SpaceX, before combining with the other companies, has accumulated a deficit of $41 billion. So basically, I think that's X. Oh, no, that is SpaceX, I guess. $41 billion. So, and we're supposed to assume that all that's going to be fine because it's a public company now and it's worth so much. So it's okay that they've lost billions of dollars. Between SpaceX and XAI, they are just burning through crazy amounts of cash. SpaceX reportedly estimates a total addressable market, a TAM, basically the amount of market that they could get, that if they were to grab it all up and everything were to go great, and the amount of market that they could get, they estimate that in the document for their IPO, they estimate that at $28.5 trillion. $28 trillion, of which $26.5 trillion comes from AI-related markets. So they're betting on their AI, like not just beating out the other AIs like ChatGPT or OpenAI and beating out Anthropic and everything for all these contracts, etc., but also beating out the open source AI, which China proved with DeepSeek that you could create something way cheaper that's as good or almost as good as ChatGPT, and you could do it open source, and you could do it with like a couple of gaming consoles strapped together. A couple of Xboxes just duct taped together, and it completely undoes the idea that you have to pay some crazy amount of money in order to use these AI models, and instead shows, hey, you can make it open source. And if China keeps doing that, like saying, hey, you just made this awesome AI thing, well, here's another version that's open source and anyone can do it for far cheaper, then XAI is going to be fucked. The addressable market calculation, that $28 trillion, is presented as crazy broad. Like it's an unbelievably broad estimate. By the way, some of this I got from Patrick Boyle, some of it I got from other sources, but the company prospectus treats enormous portions of global technology and enterprise spending as markets it could potentially capture. So this valuation, this $2.2 trillion valuation, is based on them capturing all of these markets and like no one else showing up and getting a piece of these markets. Yeah, so it's all just like this unproven future business that is just clearly going to work out perfect for SpaceX, which Elon Musk has proven with the Cybertruck, etc., that these markets don't work out the way he thinks they're going to work. The Cybertruck has largely been a catastrophe. Like, I'm not really going to get into this aspect of it, but because so the Cybertruck, the number of Cybertrucks being sold is just collapsed. It's like a few thousand a quarter. It's hardly anything. And it came out in this prospectus because this was the first time that SpaceX had to reveal their books, basically had to reveal what they're spending money on, etc. It came out that they had bought, I don't remember how many, 1,000, 2,000 something, thousands of Cybertrucks from Tesla. And they paid full price for them. And Tesla then put those as like part of their quarterly Cybertruck sales. So it's self-dealing. Elon Musk was basically buying this, using SpaceX money to buy Cybertrucks to make Tesla look stronger than it was. And it worked until he was forced to reveal that had been done in this IPO. And, that's gotten barely any coverage, that Elon Musk is self-dealing, is, lying to consumers, is lying to Tesla investors, all of that shit. Doesn't matter, apparently. He's beyond regulation, right? He's so rich that he doesn't have to care about regulations. It's and so let's see. It's the future businesses include orbital AI infrastructure, meaning he thinks he's going to have data centers in space, which space-based data centers, proprietary chips, and other projects that currently generate little or no demonstrated commercial value. Now you'd have to talk to someone, at NASA or some experts at various aspects of space travel and putting things into atmosphere. But the things I've seen show that putting data centers into orbit would be just incredibly difficult and expensive, and the money saved by doing it would not actually be worth the benefits. I mean, every promise Elon Musk has ever made has been wrong. Like, can you name one time that his initial prediction about something has been right? Maybe the amount people are willing to dump money into SpaceX, but I'm getting to the fact that many of you and average Americans may end up with money in SpaceX, invested in SpaceX. You won't even know it. We'll get to that in a second. So they spend crazy amounts of money. In the first quarter of 2026, the company reportedly spent about $10 billion, including roughly $7.7 billion on AI infrastructure versus $1 billion on launch systems. The AI operation is producing substantial losses and is way behind the other ones. The division reportedly lost approximately $6.4 billion in 2025, while requiring more than $20 billion in expenses. So, operating at an unbelievable loss. Soon, these costs will be dumped onto us, the average American. This is part of the reason why Elon Musk had to bring this company public now. Even though he had said he wouldn't bring it public, again, him lying to people. He had said he wouldn't bring it public until there was a man on Mars or something. And of course, not true, because he lies a lot. I don't know. Do you think it's just that he's a liar, or do you think that's kind of his Nazi side acting up, like the Nazi is a liar, or is it the breeding fetish guy that's a liar, or just like which part of him do you think is the biggest liar? Let's see. So the IPO is partly a mechanism for transferring the funding burden of SpaceX and the AI development from private investors to public markets. I already said this. Space-based data centers have crazy engineering problems, heat dissipation, radiation, maintenance, latency, launch costs, and hardware replacement make orbital computing considerably difficult. It just sounds like also putting, I'm not even getting into this one, but putting a people on Mars it'll be nice as a little exploration thing to say we got a man on Mars. Yay. But the idea of putting humans there is nonsense. Like living there, there's no reason for it. Like, we are already able to get rovers up there. We can investigate things with them. They get better every year. We will get better and better at putting them onto Mars. So anything there is to learn about Mars will be achieved without humans. Humans, let's face it, when you're looking at AI and everything, we're quickly becoming the dumb apes of the systems. So why would you put a man there or a woman? Why put a human? Why would humans live on Mars? And then there's the people who are like, well, we're fucking up our planet, so we got to go to Mars. Mars is so unbelievably more fucked up than our planet is. I love the idea. People are so... They cannot imagine a world where we go beyond capitalism, evolve beyond capitalism to a system where we actually keep this planet, the one that sustains us, our environment, going in a sustainable, good, positive, healthy way. We can't even imagine that. We sooner imagine firing our dumb asses to a planet that is not even breathable. You can't even breathe there. Like, there's not even real water sources. Like, it would be fucking catastrophic. Could you maybe make it work for a few months? Sure. And that'll be incredible. But how about we work on this? How about we fix this planet first? You idiots. Holy shit. But yeah, so the Mars thing is Elon Musk will be dead. I mean, let's hope we don't get to the living forever stage while he's still alive. Who knows? But he'll be dead before we're living on Mars. And I mean large groups of people. Sure, you could get one sad guy up there and you put him in a little biodome and he's able to exist, and who cares? Like, yay, we got a guy there. We already learned everything we needed to know about Mars, but now there's a dude there. Rock on. And by the way, I'm pro space exploration. I just know it's getting to the point that putting a human on these places is just why. Just we are fragile. We are fragile things. That rover lived up there. Which one was the one that like they kept thinking it was gonna die and it lived for like 5 years or whatever the fuck? Like, yeah, that rover really stuck it out. We're fragile. We die quick and easy. So why put us there? You're just making all the exploration more difficult. So the actual Starship in this IPO is really important, but is the part of the IPO, but it's still uncertain. Like they haven't proven this Starship is going to be awesome and easy and cheap. Much of the company's long-term strategy depends on achieving very cheap, frequent, and reliable Starship launches, which haven't yet been proven. Starlink is the only one of the three companies that are now bundled as SpaceX. Starlink is the only one that's doing well right now. It has real customers, revenue, and a functioning service. It's actually a thing. So if Starlink had an IPO alone, the IPO would have been way smaller, but it would have been like a justifiable business model. You would have been like, that is a company that works. So the valuation, like Starlink is a tiny fraction of this valuation. Starlink also has a lot of problems that people don't like to talk about, such as the fact that there are 10,600 Starlink satellites in orbit right now. Elon Musk, of course, wants to greatly increase that. And the idea, how they work, how they've been working and how they're supposed to work is that when they reach the end of their lifespan, which is not long, I think it's like a year or something. Thank you, Deep Green, for supporting the show. You were at the stand-up show in Brooklyn. Glad to have you there. Appreciate the support. So there's 10,000 of these things in orbit, and the way they're supposed to work is when they reach the end of their lifetime, which is not very long, they just fall towards the Earth and they burn up. Wonderful. Problem is, if you get enough of these, like thousands and thousands burning up, they're leaving all their toxic chemicals, toxic fumes, orbiting Earth. So we have all this toxic Starlink garbage orbiting Earth. And now we also have tens of thousands of them orbiting Earth, which makes it more and more difficult for us to have space travel because you don't know if you're going to hit these things. And keep in mind, like something the size of a pellet that hits you in outer, like as you're exiting the atmosphere, is a bullet. It's going to, like, anything that's not carefully shielded, it's going to go straight through. So yeah, Elon Musk is filling our fucking planet atmosphere with all kinds of toxins and garbage, and that's his best business. That's the one that's actually working. So to a little bit sum up here, the IPO basically bundles together all the assets like Starlink, with like credible assets like Starlink, with standard Elon Musk bullshit like I'm going to have everyone living on Mars. And it puts it into one giant thing that's like 90% bullshit and is now the largest IPO ever and almost doubled the previous largest IPO, which was a fucking Saudi oil company. It also is one of the other ways he plans to make a lot of money for SpaceX is space travel designed to like travel around the Earth. So basically, rich fucks will pay, who, let's say this happens if it were to happen in 10 or 20 years, let's say they pay $25,000, $50,000 for a single ticket, maybe 50, I don't know, maybe 100 for a single $100,000 for a single ticket where they take a rocket into space and then land that rocket in like, from Florida and land that, or Texas or something, and land that rocket in Tokyo. And basically they're able to fly from Texas to Tokyo in like a matter of minutes or whatever it is. I don't know what the actual length of time would be, but way quicker than taking an airplane, even the fastest airplane we have. Okay, that sounds neat. And let's say these rich fucks have that money. It's still insane. It's insane. The amount of like fuel used, the amount of toxic gases pumped with every single rocket, like all the other equipment usage, the personnel, it would be so unbelievably wasteful to get some rich dick from Texas to Tokyo in a matter of, it's insane. And he hasn't proven that it exists yet. That, like, not to mention, all you'd have to do is have, let's say they were firing, 5 of those a day. All you'd have to have is a couple of them blow up, and suddenly people aren't going to want to pay that $50,000. They're going to be like, yeah, maybe I'll take the route, the style of travel that doesn't explode into fireballs all the time. Okay, so now we get to the part where you or me, or well, not me, because I'm not in a mutual fund or anything, but you or average Americans could be invested in this like Ponzi scheme, in this garbage, without even knowing it. NASDAQ changed their rules just for SpaceX, just for Elon Musk. Because when the richest Nazi in the world says change the rules, you listen. Until now, a company had to like prove itself as a public company with a stock, people could buy the stock, had to prove itself for a year before it was listed on the NASDAQ 100 index. These rule changes, now it's only 15 days. So they changed it from a year to 15 days for SpaceX. These rule changes were highly controversial because they force billions of dollars from passive index funds, pension plans, 401ks that track these benchmarks. It forces them to buy SpaceX stock almost immediately in 15 days from now. So today was the first day, 15 days from now, regardless of its IPO pricing or profitability, or whether it's just Elon Musk lying his ass off or what have you. So there are going to be, I don't know if it's thousands or millions, I don't know the exact number, maybe millions of Americans invested in this garbage without even knowing it. They invested in a Nazi, invested in a super rich Nazi without even knowing it. Which is just, it's unbelievable. It's like I said, we're in the worst matrix. We're in the worst possible multiverse. Anyone holding funds that track the relevant index could end up owning SpaceX automatically, even if they consider the valuation or governance, or they don't like the fact that a Nazi owns the company. Even if they don't like any of that, they're just automatically just invested in space Nazis. Like, that's how this works. And it's, instead what you have is a bunch of pom-pom cheerleading. Instead of reporting like that, what you have is a bunch of pom-pom cheerleading from your mainstream media going, biggest IPO ever. Elon does it again. Wow, what a guy. What an awesome Nazi breeding, white supremacist breeding fetish dude. Gotta love him. This is so unbelievably catastrophic. Now, there's a bunch of other aspects to this, which is, yes, I can't pronounce it. I bone to many? I don't know. In the comment, yes, Space Nazis does sound like an awesome movie, assuming they lose at the end, as long as they lose. I agree with you on that. But there's a bunch of other aspects to this, one of which being that with money comes unbelievable power. And we've seen it with Elon Musk. He can control elections. He can control large factions of our government, the substantial decisions within our government. This all just comes with having a lot of money. Now, he doesn't just have a lot of money. He has, like, another billionaire is like an ant to him. Like Peter Thiel, who is his Nazi lunatic in, the lovers from a different brother or whatever. Lovers from different brothers. Yeah. No, lovers from different mothers. I don't know. Anyway, his fellow Nazi rich guy, Dick, owning horrible companies. Peter Thiel has like a few $1 billion. Peter Thiel is nothing compared to the $1 trillion valuation of Elon Musk. It's the amount of power he has with that kind of money. And the only reason he stopped just shredding the government, I mean, not that here's the thing, is like there's portions of the government that deserve to be shredded. The problem is he and Donald Trump and them are just going after the things that might help people. Like they're going after like Social Security and Department of Education and all that shit. So it's like they're not shredding the things you and I would be like, let's shred ICE and DHS and not be monitoring every goddamn civilian all the time. Let's get them the flock out of our lives. If anyone got that pun, you're very smart. No, they're not shredding that. They're shredding, public education and shit. Yes, and Juan Carlos says $1 trillion is 1,000 billions. It's also, again, for those of you joining late, if you make $50,000 a year after taxes, which after taxes, that ain't bad, you would have to work for 20 million years to make $1 trillion. So get in there. Work hard. Just 20 million years. Get started. So there's that aspect of it, which is not being talked about enough, the amount of power he has with this amount of money. He could easily buy the presidency one day. I know he's not from the United States, but these lunatics could easily get that changed in the Constitution. But the truth is most corporate rulers don't actually want to be in the presidency. They want to run the presidency, which is what Elon Musk was doing at first. But the reason he stepped back is because of the same reason they don't want to be in the presidency, because it can start to actually have an impact on their stock. When he was still standing in the White House every day, Tesla stock started to collapse, which was a lot at that time was a lot of his net worth. And so he was harming his net worth by being the face of our loving and Nazi government. I do not see how they're not loving. Some people say this isn't a loving government. I do not see that. I'm nailing the puns right now. So there's that aspect of it, but there's also, and I've talked about this before, very few people talk about this. The Wall Street, the stock market in general, is a massive Ponzi scheme. And this is top secret. Like, this is one of the reasons, topics like this are one of the reasons that had a lot of my channels banned around the world. If you try and post this on many of the official sites, they'll ban you. I know one of the guys that wrote the book that I learned a lot about this from, The Ponzi Factor. He was banned from Quora, the question site, for revealing this, for saying this. Anyway, Wall Street is a Ponzi scheme in the traditional definition. If you look up the dictionary definition of Ponzi scheme, stock market, our current stock market, the way it works now, is a Ponzi scheme. Most stock money, because you don't actually have the money until until you sell the stock, right? Saying I have a lot of money in stock doesn't count, because it could collapse any day, right? So it only counts once you sell it and get the dollars. And I know they're fiat currency as well, but so having stock is worth nothing. And in fact, if you brought your stock to, let's say, your Google stock, you brought your stock to Google and you said, I want my money for this stock, it says so in the bylaws, they have a obligation within the bylaws to give you, it's like a fraction of a penny for each Google stock each Google share you own. Fraction of a penny. So they basically owe you nothing. So the stock isn't worth anything until you sell it to another person. So it is only worth what another person will buy it for, which is kind of the definition of a Ponzi scheme. You can only get the money from it if you find another person willing to buy the thing. And so it becomes worth more as more and more people want to buy it. It becomes worth less as less and less people want to buy it. It's not worth anything in and of itself. Now, this also means that it's a house of cards, and when it starts to fall down, we're in a AI bubble. And I always like to make clear that I don't mean AI itself is a bubble, is fake, is unreal, is not real, is not a real thing. Like, AI is going to be already, it's massively powerful. It's going to get crazy more powerful. It is insane. what AI will do to our futures and to what our lives look like and everything. That's not the bubble. The bubble is financially in our system. Like most of what's keeping the stock market afloat right now is it's like 7 companies, most of them involved in AI, and the only one that builds anything like that makes money is Nvidia. It builds the chips. They build the shovels for the gold mining. The other ones are they're just hoping that one day AI is going to make all this money. Thank you, Plant Rocker, for supporting the show and touting animal rights protests in Chicago. And I'm so glad you give a shit about animal rights. I have to admit, it has been, considering how insane things have been, it's been tough to talk much about how horrific like factory farming is. Because it's like you're watching genocide on TV every day. It's like tough to talk about, like genocide in Gaza, genocide in southern Lebanon, blowing up little girls in Iran. And it's tough to be like, and now I'm going to talk about factory farming, but it's true. You had 2 good comments. Yes, Juan Carlos asked, who was the guy who explained the stock market as a Ponzi scheme? It is Ton Lu, and his book is called The Ponzi Factor. And Goron in the chat says, The Big Short is here. I'm glad you mentioned The Big Short. Did I write? I guess maybe I didn't. I didn't save that site. The guy who is the famous trader from The Big Short. So he was like the only one to figure, or the first, but really the only one to figure out the housing bubble. One of the only ones figure out the housing bubble and invest heavily in the housing he invested that the housing bubble was going to collapse. He shorted it, hence The Big Short. He has said that SpaceX is there's not a lot to it. Like I don't know how to put shorts on things. I don't have any pants on nor shorts. Barry was his last name. I don't know how to short something, but I'm sure he is shorting the SpaceX by a big amount. And S. Kubi over on Rumble donated or did a super chat. Thank you so much. S. Kubi wrote, Elon believes his wealth reflects his contribution to society because marginal productivity. Who am I to disagree? Anyway, let's see. Is that all I have? Oh, I just wanted one last fact on Tesla. Tesla continues to also be a meme stock. Like, it's based on just like hype. Like, Tesla's still based on hype. It doesn't mean Tesla cars aren't nice. They're fine. But why should Tesla be worth more than the next 10 car companies combined? Tesla is worth more than the next 10 car companies combined. And the Cybertruck, one of its biggest things in the past many years, was largely a catastrophe. That they're now selling Cybertrucks to SpaceX secretly to try and make Tesla look like they're selling more Cybertrucks. Like, that's where they are now. It is all based on just hype, which again shows the stock market is a Ponzi scheme. It's fake. It's like most of these companies are not making, like, their stock is not worth the equivalent of the amount of profit they're bringing in or the amount of contributions to society. Certainly not. It's just hype. Now, this doesn't mean you can't make money from it. You can make a lot of money from a Ponzi scheme until it collapses. If you sell at the right time, right? Same with all the crypto scams out there. I'm not saying Bitcoin is a crypto scam. I actually think Bitcoin has important uses and aspects, but there are many crypto scams. Most of it's scam. And a lot of people made a lot of money from the crypto scams. They just knew when to get out. That's what Tesla is. That's what SpaceX is. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of money from them. Okay. I want to move on to some updates on Iran. Also, why the Pentagon is assessing the threat of Israeli espionage as critical. Like Israel spying on the U.S., the Pentagon views that as at a critical level. I'll get to that. But I would love for you guys to think that this episode and my episodes are worth 33 cents. That's what it breaks down to. If you were to become a member at reallycamp.substack.com, you also get my ebook, Dangerous Ideas, when you sign up. You also get my last comedy, stand-up comedy, live stand-up comedy half hour, live in New York. And you will get my, if you might have to email me to remind me, but because I can't keep track of all the emails, but you will get my next stand-up half hour, which should come out in the coming weeks as well. You get all that when you become a member for a whopping $8 a month. It's you're throwing me a beer a month, the cost of a beer a month, and I put out all this content. Again, this breaks down to 33 cents per episode or column over on Substack. And you can sign up at reallycamp.substack.com, patreon.com/LeeCamp, or at leecamp.net. Leecamp.net is my locals community. It's like more of a community. You can chat with other people there. You can do your own posts there. Thank you, L. Knight Rider. And I like the Knight Rider throwback name. When's that movie reboot coming out, huh? I guess because the talking car is not that impressive anymore. Yeah, that reboot actually totally shouldn't come out. Like, they're like, the car talks. Yeah, we all know. It's like all of our cars now. Anyway, thanks, L. Knight Rider. Just gifted 10 YouTube memberships to folks. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, Knight Rider is gone by the wayside, hadn't it, in terms of seeming high tech. Okay, let's keep going here. Trump, now, he could be lying. He's lied endlessly. In fact, he's promised the war with Iran has ended 40 times now. He's said it's about to end or going to end or the deal looks good. He said over 40 times he's posted about that. But yet again, here we are. And here's why this matters. It proves how much Iran has the U.S. and Israel by the balls. And since the theme of today's episode is puns, Iran has the U.S. by the ballistic missiles. Yes, they do. They have Trump by the ballistic missiles. Because each time you think that, Iran did this thing, like they stopped a U.S. ship from coming through, or they bombed Israel, like they went after Israel in response to Israel's bombing of Lebanon. Oh, Trump's gonna start bombing the shit out of them again. He doesn't. Because they have the U.S. by the balls. They have changed the equation in the Middle East. This is an epic, epic fail for the U.S. and Israel. That doesn't mean Israel doesn't still want Israel. That doesn't mean Israel doesn't still want war with Iran. They do, because part of the reason is Netanyahu knows he'll go to prison if they don't keep the war up. But anyway, let me read some from Dropside News. Trump cancels planned strikes on Iran. President Trump called off a third straight night of planned strikes on Iran Thursday, claiming talks with Tehran were close to producing a deal. Discussions and final points have been, in both concept and great detail, approved by all parties involved, Trump wrote. The other thing is, why has he done this 40 times? Said, we're going to strike and we're not going to strike, because he's corrupt and he and his family are playing the stock market on this every time. Like, we don't have all the details, but if we ever get all the details, we will probably find out that almost every time he makes one of these comments, someone in his family or his orbit or he himself have put bets on where oil prices are going to go. And they're making an unbelievable amount of money by just continuing to say, we're going to strike Iran. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to strike Iran. Oh, no, we're not. And they just keep playing the oil markets and maybe Wall Street in general. But and that's just one of the many ways he's corrupt. So Trump had threatened to escalate the conflict by targeting Cargill and other oil facilities. Trump later told reporters at the White House, quote, we just made a great settlement of the war in Iran. By the way, not true. The strait will officially open as soon as we sign, which should be soon, very soon, maybe over the weekend in Europe. This doesn't mean a deal couldn't be signed, but the idea that it would happen this weekend seems very unlikely because Iran is not saying that it's at that point. Trump has made claims of an imminent deal 40 times. So here is from foreign ministry spokesman in Iran. He said the text has almost been finalized in its major parts, not just the entirety of the deal, but the major aspects. The problem is that the contradictory positions of the United States have always caused turbulence and disruption in this process. Yeah, and Iran has said rightly that they can never trust anything the U.S. says. So it's incredibly difficult to nail down a deal when they don't trust anybody in the U.S. saying anything. I mean, hell, the U.S. will fucking and has fucking bombed them while they're trying to make a deal, while they're negotiating. So here are the details of this. This is the message or memorandum of understanding. Here are the main points. They include and by the way, while you're listening to these points, notice how much this is basically what Iran has said they want from day one, because they know they have the upper hand. And most of this is what Iran has wanted. First, a permanent and immediate cessation of war on all fronts, including Lebanon. Next, lifting of the U.S. naval blockade within 30 days. Next, commitments from the U.S. not to expand its military presence in the region. 60 days of negotiations to reach a final agreement based on nuclear issues and the complete lifting of sanctions. Key words there, complete lifting of sanctions. This would mean that Iran comes out of this better than they went into it. And really, whether they get those sanctions lifted or not, they're still coming out of it better than they went in, because they have shown their power. They've shown their ability. And they've shown other countries, not all of them have the Strait of Hormuz, so it's not that easy, but they've shown other countries how to deal with U.S. and Israeli aggression in some form. Here to continue from the MOU, reopening the Strait of Hormuz within 30 days with Iranian arrangements. I'm guessing that means the toll booth they've put in, which again would show Iran's coming out of this better than they went in. Final negotiations will not begin before the release of half of Iran's frozen funds, the suspension of oil sanctions, and the lifting of the naval blockade. Discussions about Iran's missile program and support for resistance groups have been definitively removed from the agenda. Yeah, that's a big one as well. Like Trump has said repeatedly, they're not going to have any missile program. They're not going to have any. We want to make sure their resistant groups are gone. Like, bullshit. The 60-day period will address 3 issues left unresolved in the current memo of understanding: the continuation of Iran's peaceful nuclear program, meaning nuclear power, the lifting of sanctions, and a mechanism for compensating Iran for its losses. So, okay, so some of the lifting of sanctions would still be not definitively worked out. But these are the 3 things that seem that they can't come to any understanding on. Is the Iran's peaceful nuclear program and the mechanism for compensating Iran for losses. Iran has repeatedly said they want to be compensated, and of course the U.S. says no. Here's a quote from the IRNA. Iran said, if Tehran decides to sign the memorandum, some of its frozen funds will be released immediately and the rest gradually. The question of U.S. sanctions will reportedly be adjudicated during the 60-day negotiating period. The memorandum contains no Iranian commitments on the nuclear issue and no U.S. commitment to lift sanctions. Okay, so, well, hold on. It did say something about... Oh, okay. 60 days of negotiations to reach a final agreement on the lifting of sanctions. Okay, so the 30-day, the initial agreement would not include lifting of sanctions. Sorry, I misstated that. Iran's official state news agency released a statement stressing that contrary to what is being circulated by Western media, Iran will not commit to relinquishing control of the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, of course not. Why the for Iran? That's the dumbest rumor you could ever believe. If Iran gave up the Strait of Hormuz, they'd just be bombed into oblivion. It's the one thing that has saved them. Of course they're not giving it up. It's just, I can't believe people believe this dumb reporting. Okay, so relatedly, but not exactly the same topic, but about Israel. Israel doesn't want any of this to happen. Israel has been trying to sink these negotiations the whole time. But we did see that Iran has a lot of power. And in fact, actually, before I get to the Pentagon espionage thing, let me get to the fact that there's an article in antiwar.com about how Iran has established a new equation in the Middle East. It remains unclear whether Iran's effort to establish a new equation in the region has truly succeeded, an equation in which, for the first time, Iran would directly strike Israel if Israel attacks Lebanon. Israel chose to defy Trump and carry out strikes against Iran. Yet, according to both Iranian and American sources, those Israeli attacks appear to have been deliberately calibrated to inflict limited damage, perhaps not to piss off the U.S. Iran, for its part, responded by striking Israel once more after the Israeli attacks. The full extent of the damage caused by Iran's rounds of attacks remains unknown because Israel censors all of that information. So we don't know how effective Iran's recent strikes have been in Israel. But for decades, Israel enjoyed near complete freedom of maneuver in much of the region. It could bomb targets in Lebanon at will without facing meaningful costs imposed by third parties. That assumption may no longer hold. The U.S. has signaled clearly that it no longer intends to be an active participant in Israel's confrontation with Iran. The White House has, for instance, stated that it did not partake in Israel's defense this time around, which that's pretty crazy that it didn't partake in Israel's defense from Iran. This would be the first and a very alarming development for Israel if true. So it very much could be a changing of the equation. I mean, this war on Iran has generally changed the equation. It has shown that Iran cannot be pressured in the way that they thought it could. But let me get to this story real quick, that the Pentagon has raised the threat level of Israeli espionage, like Israel spying on the U.S., to critical. The U.S. Defense Department has reportedly raised its assessment of the espionage threat posed by Israel to the highest category of critical, according to media reports, and media reports citing American intelligence and defense officials. The assessment, first published by NBC News and then the New York Times, comes at a time when Washington is pursuing diplomatic engagement with Iran, while Israel, of course, does not want the diplomatic engagement. Donald Trump and Netanyahu have publicly diverged in their approach to the war. This is not the first time Israel has been accused of espionage against the U.S., its closest ally and benefactor, with which it maintains extensive security and intelligence cooperation. Analyst Rob Geist-Pinfold said Iran will likely read the latest development as enemies basically bickering and misjudging each other. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It certainly doesn't mean that the U.S. government is like fully against Israel. That's not true at all. The U.S. government is like 90% with Israel. I think there are plenty of factions in the U.S. government that are moderately annoyed with the efforts Israel has gone to try and continue this war with Iran and continue war with Lebanon. At first, obviously, the U.S. was very happy to have Israel involved in this war with Iran, but Iran, again, has Trump by the ballistic missiles, and therefore they don't want it to keep going, but Israel has been important, or let's just say a pressure point in keeping the war going. But mainly it's Trump's ego. I think the number one thing keeping the war going with Iran is Trump's ego. It also demonstrates that Israel is more likely or more susceptible to going rogue and basically acting unilaterally outside of coordination with the U.S. Yeah, I'm one of these people with a somewhat nuanced view about the power of Israel. There's a lot of people, many of them on the right wing, but that's not all true, but that act like Israel has full control of the U.S. government, and that's why we're doing everything. Like, Trump never would have bombed Iran, but Netanyahu made him. Bullshit. Israel does have a lot of power, but Trump bombed Iran because he wanted to bomb Iran. Like, the U.S. has been planning on bombing Iran for decades. They just were trying to figure out a way to do it without Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, and Trump was dumb enough to do it anyway without having a plan for that. That's what it comes down to. But this is pretty. Let's see. Let me keep going for 1 second. The warning was based on Israeli intelligence agencies intensifying efforts to collect information on U.S. military personnel, government officials, and policy discussions. Yeah, Israel is all up in our shit. Israel is spying on everything, but most of it they don't really need to spy on because they're just like, there are people with dual allegiances to both the U.S. and Israel. And it's not just Jewish people. I know people want to act like, oh, it's just Jews, but there are millions of Zionists who are not Jews. And there are millions of, not millions, there are plenty of people within our government who have dual allegiance to the U.S. and Israel that are not Jewish. Plenty of them. So, but that is an interesting development. All right. So this would normally be when I'd wrap up the live stream, but instead today I'm going to play. I gave a kind of a special surprise live stream last night where I did an hour and a half reaction video to Dave Rubin's catastrophic debate. Some are calling it career ending, where he tried to defend Trump and seemed completely had zero idea of how to defend Trump. Was pretty amazing. And I'm going to play that right now. I know it's a little bit weird to play another live stream at the end of this live stream, but the truth is I know that many of you have not seen it, and therefore you'll just get a extended episode. And those of you who have seen it, I'm giving you permission to turn me off if you've already seen it. But I think many of you have not, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy this. It's at times it's hilarious, at times fucking infuriating, but most of the time, I'd say it's hilarious. It's hilariating. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. It's hilariating. So I'm going to start playing that right now, and I really hope you enjoy it, and I hope you share this. I'm going to see you. I'm not sure if I do a live stream Monday. It'll be an early live stream because I have to travel starting on Monday. I have a bunch of travels coming up, so we'll see. But I'll try and let you guys know. I'll post on YouTube, etc., as to what's going on. But I really hope that you will join up at reallycamp.substack.com. Tell you what, even if you aren't going to become a paid member, if you haven't become a free subscriber, go over there right now, click subscribe, do it for free. Just do that. And you can consider becoming a paid subscriber later. But it would be amazing if you could throw me the cost of a beer a month. 1 beer a month, man. Come on. I need some beer. The truth is, I use most of it not for beer. I use it to keep the show going and not starve to death. But anyway, okay, here we are. This is last night's live stream reaction to Dave Rubin's catastrophic debate in which he tries desperately to defend the catastrophic presidency of Donald Trump. Hope you enjoy. I'm going to do a reaction video where I'm going to just play this catastrophic debate that everyone's talking about between Dave Rubin and 20 so-called left-wingers. And I'm just going to react. And I've essentially not seen it. I skipped through some of it to make sure it was shit I wanted to talk about. But essentially, I largely don't know what they're going to say. And so we're just going to do that. And I don't even know how long it'll be. Maybe I'll be able to survive an hour of watching Dave Rubin speak. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll have to tap out. And on top of that, since it's evening time, got a little whiskey. Not a lot. I'm not. So when you hear me say something, dumb or get really angry, it's I'm still sober. It's not a drunken statement. Everyone, I hope you'll click thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't, all that good stuff. So let me give you a little background real quick. Dave Rubin, well, first you should know who he is. Many of you probably already know. He used to be his only claim to fame is he used to be with the Young Turks. He, for a time, called himself liberal, or I don't know if he ever said he was left wing, but and he then did a massive pivot where he became, I don't know, at the beginning of this thing, he calls himself a conservative, but he also put out a book claiming that he's a traditional liberal, whatever the fuck that means. Like, all this terminology is just garbage, and it's all just a grift. This guy's been a grifter since day one. And he was, he didn't have that big a fan base, but then he was on a PragerU video, which is a garbage right-wing outlet, and they famously titled it "Why I Left the Left." Basically, Dave Rubin was declaring, and not just as a liberal commentator, but also a gay man, declaring that he was now joining the right. And that was the big claim to fame. So here he is many years after that, and he is still right-wing, and he's still defending Donald Trump, which many right-wingers have abandoned defending Donald Trump, like Tucker Carlson, etc. Still defending Trump, still defending genocide in Gaza, loves the genocide, just garbage human being through and through, but also just a true grifter. Like, he realized, he told the story on Joe Rogan where when they named that video "Why I Left the Left," he was at first really angry because he thought they had ruined his fan base. But then it got so many views that he just dug into it because he was like, oh, look at all the money I can make over here. Like, he basically admits, oh, okay, people are really excited and sending me money because I said I left the left. So he stuck with it. So it's one of the rare moments where you see a grifter kind of admit that they're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm okay with this grift because it's getting dollars. Also friends with Peter Thiel. That shows you what a good guy he is. He apparently, this is according to Candace Owens. I mean, who knows what she's saying, whether she's telling the truth, but he apparently got a multi-million-dollar loan to buy a house from Peter Thiel. And he was complaining to Candace that Peter Thiel was asking for interest on the multi-million-dollar loan. So this shows you what kind of life he leads, what kind of awesome person he is. And those are just tiny handful of things I know about him. God knows the things I don't. I don't even want to talk about the things I don't know about him. But I also kind of randomly know the guy from way back. He started as a comedian around the same time I was starting as a comedian in New York City. I probably had a total of 2 conversations with him back then. For years, I thought it was a different Dave Rubin on Young, because I'd hear his name mentioned. I never watched his shit, but I didn't realize it was the same dude that was the awful comedian in New York. I didn't realize those were one and the same. But yeah, my 2 conversations with him, he was just always a douchebag. He just always egomaniac, jerk. And this, I got that from a conversation where I didn't know the guy, never met him, just a comedian in New York. I was like, wow, that guy's a douche. Who the hell was that? And it's like, oh, it turns out to be this douche. Anyway, he goes into this debate, and the last little bit of background I have to give you is this debate has been so catastrophic for him that multiple people have made videos about how this is career ending. I don't know if his career was over before this, but career ending. It's just horrific. He had no idea how to defend Trump. He couldn't compete with them, etc. But what I'm also going to do is kind of different than every other commentary I've seen is I also have plenty of criticisms of the 20 people on the quote unquote left that are debating him, in that they're still, most of them are all within this Overton window. They're all within this tiny box of allowable thought that allows the U.S. capitalist imperial system to just fuck the world. And even though I agree on plenty of points that the so-called left-wingers are making, I also can point out to you where they're just feeding into these terrible tropes, these terrible ideas. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. And again, I don't know how long I'll make it. I'd love to see your comments on, as we go through it, on things they're getting wrong or right or whatever. But that's about it. There we go. Let's see what happens.
My first surrounded claim is that wokeism did more damage to America than Trump ever did.
All right. If you would like to debate this claim, please get to the center.
And of course, I'll try not to interrupt too much, but of course, this is the stupidest Like, just starting right there. Wokeism? Yeah. Well, wokeism. Like, it depends on how you define woke. Is wokeism giving a shit that your business of 300 people doesn't have a single black person? So you're like, I think we should probably hire one black person. Is that wokeism? Has it done more damage than Donald Trump? Yeah. The tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, he has killed, not just in Iran, but the continuing deaths in Syria, the deaths in Gaza, which we fund, arm, and facilitate. So, yeah, wokeism has just murdered all the... It's just, like, it's so stupid from the jump.
3, 2, 1.
He's quick. He's quick.
Yes, I am. So I find it interesting that you think wokeism has done so much damage to America as opposed to Donald Trump. Wokeism did not kick 17 million Americans off of their health insurance through Medicaid. Wokeism didn't start a disastrous war with Iran that has now led to inflation outpacing wage growth. Wokeism hasn't ripped up institutions or attempted even to destroy free speech, even by your standards, because Ronald Reagan appointed judge ruled that the Trump administration was violating the First Amendment by attempting to deport, arrest, and detain students and faculty members on college campuses for protesting for Palestine. Wokeism, to me, it doesn't even have remotely as disastrous as a track record.
And he didn't say this. I don't know if they say it later, but I'd say one of the biggest points is that, you know, whatever you want to point to as being wokeism, like, okay, let's say it is the idea that a business needs to hire a certain percentage, not generally a large one, but out of a team of 10, maybe let's have one person of color on it, something like that. In the rare cases that legit they hire someone which, like, on paper doesn't quite have the resume, and this is not generally the case, but I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the anti-woke argument, didn't have quite the resume of maybe a white person that was going for the same position, that wouldn't hold a candle to the amount of racism, subconscious and conscious, that is throughout our society. Like, and you know, this is just one stat, and it's one that I quote because I think you don't need a million. You can just use one, and it kind of shows how this system works. You're 50% less likely. This is pre-woke, post-woke. This is all of it. 50% less likely to get the first call for a job interview if you have a black-sounding name. And these are on equal resumes, meaning they did testing where they sent in equal resumes, white sounding name, black sounding name. Your race is not mentioned, but the person looking at the forms, the resumes, is able to deduce your race by your black sounding name. You're 50% less likely to just get the first interview. Now imagine how much less likely you are once they actually see that you aren't the right color or you're a woman or whatever it is. So the idea that maybe there's this tiny little correction for this crazy amount of racism in our systemic throughout our society, yeah, it's a real problem. It just destroys everything. I mean, white men are it's impossible to be a white man now.
Donald Trump.
Well, how would you define wokeism? I guess we should start with that.
I think wokeism is a pejorative term that's used.
By the way, that's a dodge as well. He just listened to this kid riff off, 20 areas that Donald Trump's done horrific things to the American people or to Iran, etc. And Dave's like, let me ignore everything you just said and just ask you to define the word.
To describe left-wing cultural politics.
Right. And what do you think left-wing cultural politics are?
I'd say left-wing cultural politics include just the broad attitudes towards social justice, especially for minority groups that have faced persecution in various ways.
Okay.
By the way, this will be a common theme when I skip through a couple of topics just to see what they're covering. A common theme is this problem with defining the term left. Or, I mean, like left, liberal is not left to me. I mean, Dave himself says he's a liberal. He pretends to be a liberal, although at the beginning they say conservative commentator, and he agrees to that. So, I don't know, he calls himself everything. He's basically anything I can call myself for you to send me money, I'll do it. But they then introduced the entire panel, the 20 people here, as far left people, far left debaters. And when I skip through, it's like some of them consider themselves Democrats, which I do not call Democrats far left, unless it's a Democrat who doesn't understand what the Democratic Party is, and they actually are far left, but they don't know realize that Democrats are right wing. I mean, they're a pro-war, pro-capitalist, pro-genocide party. Like, that is not left wing. So the idea that you can be a Democrat and left wing is nonsense. It's like, yeah, I'm left wing, but I support genocide and I support bombing the schoolhouse full of girls in Iran, and I'm left wing. But even beyond just that, reality of what these terms mean, the term left is so diffuse and weird, and it means different things to different people. And it's even the term left, which I would call myself left, but even when I say that, I know that I'm saying something that doesn't have an actual like structural meaning. It's like this little, diffuse thing that you're like ephemeral, like I'm left, like. And the only person I've seen write like extensively on this is Peter Joseph. If you go check out his Substack, he'll talk about this group mentality of like, we all want to define ourselves and we want to be part of a group, but then we decide in group, out group, you're outside the group, you're not really good enough. And it all is garbage. But, sometimes I just struggle. Sometimes I'll use the term left because it's tough to even talk about these things without using some of these terms. But
so I think the simplest way to define wokeism is basically collectivism on steroids, and usually as it applies to race and gender, meaning that you should be.
Notice he had it on steroids. Collectivism, like if you look up the definition of collectivism, it's basically like everyone should support everyone, and we should like help people and like have a nice society. like honestly, if you Google the definition of collectivism, like if you're someone who's like, fuck that, then like you have a serious problem. You're like a sociopath or something. If you're like, that idea of everyone doing okay and having an okay society sucks. Like, that's just really sad. You're a really sad, pathetic person. And here is Dave Rubin essentially saying that, essentially saying he's horrified by the idea of like having a somewhat equal. I mean, none of these people are calling for true equality. None of these people are calling for like, I mean, at least when I jump through to see the topics, maybe someone will, but I don't know that anyone calls for an end to capitalism, which if you're not doing that, then you're not really understanding the systems at play, understanding the destruction to the world of market economics. But anyway.
Be judged based on the color. You actually should be judged based on the color of your skin and your sexuality and your gender and a whole bunch of immutable characteristics. And depending on where those fall on the left's kind of hierarchy of importance, that's kind of how you can parse out where people should be and how important their ideas are.
So even assuming your character.
And of course, all that's an exaggeration. It's yes, their identity politics can go too far. It absolutely can. Like you can have groups that say we're absolutely not speaking to any men, or we're actually not speaking. We'll never take ideas from white people. Like it can go too far where you're just deciding everyone is not someone that they can be worked with at all. It can absolutely go too far. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about like, the idea of anyone ever being hired because maybe a black person could offer a different experience, a different understanding of the world in whatever job, whatever surrounding, whatever area. That is wokeism is destroying everything. It's just, and again, like I think the heart of this is like we live in a very racist society where every day in every way, it is harder to get ahead for a variety of, we call them minorities, but whatever, the disadvantaged in one way or another. It is harder to get ahead than if you're a white person, than if you're a white male. Like, that's just how it is. And this is a slight bit of correction to that. And just that slight bit of correction has multimillionaires like Dave Rubin horrified.
characterization to be an accurate characterization, which I don't necessarily take.
Right.
Can you give me-
we're
can you
gonna
give me-
have a lot of
Can
trouble
you
getting
can
to
you
a fair
actually
agreement
demonstrate
on
that
wokeism.
wokeism has, for example, skyrocketed inflation to outpace wage growth the way that Donald Trump's war of aggression on Iran has done? Can you demonstrate that wokeism has violated the First Amendment by arresting students and faculty members on college campuses?
Okay, well, yes, I can. So let's start. Well, first off, the disastrous war, the quote unquote disastrous war that you're talking about. You're talking about a 40-day military operation that stopped an apocalyptic regime from getting a nuclear bomb.
So.
This is when Dave Rubin's at his best, is when he's talking about like the larger geopolitical wars. It's just the apocalyptic regime. Is Iran the apocalyptic regime, or is Israel literally, like many of them believe that they need a war in the region to bring about like the end times. Many of those supporters of Israel, who are not Jewish, by the way, Zionist doesn't mean Jewish. Many of them are evangelicals who believe that this battle is for the end times. And legit, you have people like Hegseth, you have commanders and generals in our Pentagon that have been telling U.S. soldiers that this is a battle for the end times, battle for Armageddon. Like, that has been said, not by all of them, but by some of them. So legit, every accusation is an admission with people like Dave Rubin or the Israeli government, etc. It's just a complete admission. It's like, we are the apocalyptic regime. We are the ones with nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. Iran does not. The U.S. is the only one to ever use them, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent people. But no, we need to stop Iran. By the way, there's also people have been playing montages of Dave Rubin saying absolutely that Trump was not going to go to war in Iran and that he voted for Trump because he's not starting new wars. So Dave Rubin's just always wrong, and also keeps defending Donald Trump, even though he's supposedly doing the opposite of the thing you voted for.
Exporting terrorism throughout the world. And we're now in an economic embargo of them, right? We've basically done a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So to say it's a disastrous war,
we've done a blockade.
We did lose. Hang on. We did.
Yeah, we did a blockade of their blockade. We did a butthurt blockade of their blockade where we were like, you can't stop our boats. We'll stop your boats.
Lose 13. We did lose 13 of our soldiers, and that is
and killed over
terrible.
200 children.
Yeah, the other guy adds in, killed 180 children in one strike. That was one strike on a school, was 180 children. Dave is upset about he's only upset about the military personnel who've been killed by Trump's war. Those are the only people that matter, right? Is U.S. military, but those are the only human beings whose lives actually have meaning.
Things happen in war, right?
Yeah.
Well, things do happen.
I love the gasp from the audience. Whenever you bring up the blowing up of a schoolhouse, a double tap strike on a schoolhouse, things happen in war. It just happens. Like, it is so disgusting, like, that human beings like this even exist. That you can be this level of sociopath, and somehow he still has people viewing his videos. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you can laugh at that. Hold on, listen. You want to talk?
I agree, but that's why war should be a last option. If Donald Trump wanted to prevent the Islamic Republic of Iran from obtaining a nuclear,
he got interrupted, but he said war is a last option. Is it? Was it our last option with Iran? Last, other than what? God, it's so, I can't. It's tempting to go through the entire history of Iran and U.S. aggression towards them, U.S.-Israeli aggression towards them, Israel's been murdering their scientists for years. Israel and U.S. likely murdered their president in the helicopter accident. Trump, last term, assassinated their top general, who everyone in the region has agreed that Soleimani was the main push behind the ability to stop ISIS. Anyway,
weapon, he could have just stuck with the Iran nuclear deal that he ripped up.
And
Iran did not enrich past the 3.67. Wait, they didn't enrich past the 3.67% agreed upon in the JCPOA. They only got to 60% after Donald Trump left that deal and then started doing aggressive actions.
I must say, I'm impressed with your talking points. You've got impressive talking points, and you memorized them well. They're not correct, but I am impressed.
Okay.
First off, the Iranians admitted in the negotiations right before the war started that they were enriching past what they were allowed to. That's.
He means allowed to. There is no allowed to. The deal was ripped up by Donald Trump. There was a deal with Iran that Obama got through that had them agreeing not to enrich past a certain level. Trump ripped it up. Why did he rip it up? He ripped it up because Obama got it done. Now, there's plenty of argument that Iran should say, fuck your deal, we'll do what we want, we're our own country. But anyway, so Dave's acting like they admitted they enriched beyond what they were allowed to. Why were they there? There's no one allowing them to do anything right now. There's no deal. Trump ripped it up. What part of this don't you understand?
Number one. Number two, you also have to go on the assumption. You also have to go. Hold on.
Because we hold on.
You also have to go on the assumption or acceptance that can you agree or verify their claims. It's one thing to say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we are agreed to, etc. But you have to be able to verify that. And the idea that we have people on the ground or the UN or some third party or
so they have a fact check. For those of you listening to the podcast, they have a fact check on the side of the screen that says, yes, indeed, Iran did not enrich beyond 3.67%, which was the limit. They only did that after Trump ripped up the deal.
That can verify what they're actually doing with underground nuclear sites and a whole bunch of other things is I would say quite a leap of faith, right? You want to trust but verify.
But most of, and maybe I'll skip ahead a little bit in a minute, but most of this debate is kind of that they're having at the moment is kind of nonsense because it is interacting within this. They enrich beyond this. They enrich beyond that. Like they are their own country. They're supposed to have sovereignty. The U.S. and Israel have proven to be genocidal, have proven we and they have nuclear weapons. Like Israel, everyone knows they have nuclear weapons. It's been admitted by whistleblowers, but they aren't inspected at all. Dave just said inspect but verify or whatever, accept but verify, however he phrased it. Israel does not allow anyone to check any of their nuclear weapons because they just pretend they don't have any. Yet it is well known that Israel has nuclear weapons. There is no one really that denies that anymore. So if you want to look at one country that has zero inspectors of their nuclear weapons, it is Israel. But of course, Dave is a pro-Israel, pro-genocide psychopath. Like he has never said anything critical of the genocide in Gaza. For all I know, maybe because I know he did photos. He went on a Israel paid or someone paid trip to Israel, took photos of himself like in Israel, like, yeah, it looks like apartheid to me. Ha ha ha. He's like done that disgusting shit. Maybe he's one of the people that pretends it's Netanyahu's fault, where he's like, I don't agree with everything Netanyahu's done, but that's just a bullshit talking point to get out of the fact that you support genocide. Like,
can I respond to that?
Sure.
So the IAEA and U.S. intelligence said that Iran did not enrich past the 3.67% prior to Donald Trump ripping up and stepping out of the Iran nuclear deal in I believe it was 2017,
okay.
2018.
So again, in these negotiations,
because Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal to begin with, that's the only reason why.
Let's try it different. I'll try it a different way.
The IAEA assessments agree with me, and Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, testified in front of Congress last year, and according to the entire intelligence community, Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program.
Okay, that they didn't have a nuclear weapons program. They were enriching past the point that they were allowed to for civilian use. Everyone knows that.
There is no allowed to. Trump ripped up the deal. Allowed to doesn't make any sense. All right, we should skip a little bit because this is getting repetitive.
In Gaza.
I'm shocked that Israel, Israel, the only place that has any of the progressive values that any of you guys share.
Really?
This is actually
Oh, the progressive bastion of Israel. That's right. They're not an apartheid state. They're not a theocracy. They're not an ethnocentric, apartheid, genocidal nation. No, they have progressive values. I also, he's basically, I'm sure one of his talking points, although he didn't say it here, is that they're the only democracy in the. They're not a democracy. Israel is not a democracy. You cannot be a democracy when you take half of the population, put them in essentially an open air concentration camp or a refugee camp, tell them they can't vote, they have essentially no rights, and now everyone gets a vote. No, they don't. They fucking don't. It's like you count the West Bank and Gaza, it's like half their population is not allowed to vote. And yeah, it's just totally it's the best democracy in the world. It's just a straight up apartheid state. I mean, in some ways, it's apartheid by law, right? They recently passed a law saying they could execute Palestinians, but no one else. They do not have capital punishment for Jews. They only have it for Palestinians. So it's apartheid. That's apartheid under law. And there's other ways it's apartheid under law. But it's also just physically apartheid. I mean, there's areas with walls where Palestinians do not go past this wall. This is the definition of apartheid, racism, all of the horrific things, oppression. Yes, but Israel is progressive.
This is perfect. This is perfect because one of the things that you told me at the beginning of this conversation was that wokeism was judging people based on characteristics and collective thought. Israel is literally centered around the prioritization of the Jewish people as a matter of policy. That is literally collectivist thought. So you must hate Israel too. You must think that that's the ultimate form of collective identity.
So he's got a point there. You must hate that. And Dave clearly sees that he's caught. And so he just tries to pivot. Like he's just screwed.
Right? How many Muslim countries are there? How many Muslim countries?
So you're just pivoting?
No. I'm going to answer.
Yeah, he is pivoting. And furthermore, like, just because you're critical of Israel does not mean you are fine with other theocracies or other monarchies or other countries that have a form of racism, religious racism. Like, it doesn't mean you're okay with that. But the difference is Israel is considered this great ally. Israel is tied at the hip with the U.S. It is a basically 51st state of the United States, except I'd say Israel's slightly more powerful in Congress than Wyoming when I last checked. But yeah, this concept of like, if you're critical of Israel, then you must also, then why aren't you saying the same thing about, like, you can dislike all of that. The difference is fucking Syria or Iran or whatever is not telling the U.S. what to do. It's not controlling the U.S. We don't have say over it. We're not tied at the hip. We're not giving them bombs. Well, now we're giving Syria some bombs, maybe. But anyway.
Is Israel collectivist?
How many Muslim countries are there?
I'm sure there are a lot of Muslim countries.
You have any idea?
There are a lot more Muslims than Jews.
Yeah, well, just ballpark. How many Muslim countries are
So
there?
they kind of gloss over that, but that's okay. There's more Muslim countries because there's a fuckload more Muslims. Like, that's part of it too.
I would probably maybe say, like, let's say between 10 to 20, maybe.
All right, you're off by about 40. There's about 52 or 53 Muslim countries.
Yeah.
But also, this is, and I imagine this will be a theme. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to withstand listening to his garbage, but I imagine this will be a theme. This question and the response and all of it is just the brain parasite of nation states kicking around. The idea of nation states, nationalism, it's a brain parasite. It makes people believe in groups that don't exist. It's like the United States need to go murder these other people in Iran. There couldn't be any differences between Iranian people, couldn't be any differences in the United States, right? We're all one group and we're going to go get that other group. It is so garbage. It's so nonsense. And yet, even they're calling themselves left wing, even the left wingers give in to this nation state thinking. So the idea that there's 40 Muslim countries, that doesn't mean anything. The number of Muslims in the world might mean something, but a country, you could have a country like Madagascar that's tiny. You could have a country like I can't even pronounce it. Was it Vanuatu or I don't even know how it's pronounced. Tiny country, and then you could have a country like Russia that's fucking massive. You could have a country like China with 1.4 billion people, and a country like U.S. and then a tiny little itty bitty like Panama or some shit. Like, it means nothing. Nation states are a brain parasite. But Dave's using it as a real gotcha. Oh, there's 40 Muslim countries.
In any of those countries, how's it going for minorities, women, gays, Christians, Jews?
Yeah, I can say that other nations, it's extraordinarily repressive. But I said,
we got to pause there. We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
But and he's right. There are Muslim countries where it is repressive. Again, that doesn't change the criticism of Israel. It also doesn't mean, like, if there's repression in Iran, does that mean we get to bomb schoolgirls into oblivion? And also just the idea that the U.S. does anything based on how a country treats their people, they're not treating them nice, is so stupid. It is aggressively stupid. It is the dumbest of the dumbest. Anytime you see a U.S. politician say, they don't treat their people right, it is bullshit. So if it doesn't mean anything for the U.S. policy, then what's your point? And furthermore, there's also just a lot of exaggeration as to how people in certain countries are treated. Like, there are many Muslim countries where there's very little repression. So a lot of it is just garbage propaganda.
Please return to your seat.
It's been fun. Oh, she had it. She had it. All right.
Dave.
All right. Hi.
Good to meet you.
See, Dave's just going along with little jokes because he realizes he's getting his ass kicked, and so he's just like, "Oh, look, that's how fast that person was."
I'm a big fan. I've been watching you since like all the way back in the Sam Harris era.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember you
softening me up. Okay.
No, you brought on like Stephen Molyneux, like the white nationalist, and I was like, this guy just loves ideas. He just loves all different types of ideas. I love that. But yeah, just wanted to talk right now specifically about the difference between progressive values and MAGA coalition.
Sure.
It's that guy nailed him. He was pretending it was a compliment, and he was like, "Remember when you had that white nationalist on, and you had like a nice fawning conversation with him? That was beautiful. That was real nice." He likes ideas.
Seems to me that all of the ills that are attributed to wokeism are typically things that people find annoying. So people being overly, policey about their pronoun usage or talking about specific groups that might seem extremely marginalized. That's what I typically hear from the right. I don't hear like a degradation of like society unless it's the far theocratic right. And I don't think that you ascribe to that. Would you call yourself a theocrat?
I mean, I wrote the best-selling book on classical liberalism, so it's funny. I get called a conservative all the time. I actually happen to be a liberal in the truest sense of liberal.
You should join the circle.
And progressives are not liberal as a general rule of thought. Yeah.
He's just playing with terms. It's bullshit. He's not a liberal. I mean, liberals are pro-war. So actually, maybe I agree with him. I don't know. A lot of liberals are pro-war. They are for capitalism. They are for the destruction of capitalism in the world. So maybe he's got a point. I don't know. But I really think I wrote the best-selling book on how I'm a liberal. It's just it actually, what it really shows is that these terms mean nothing. They mean different things to different people. And the same goes for terms that, you or I might find less offensive at times. Terms like socialism. It means breathtakingly different things to different people. Some people think it means the fall of capitalism and a completely new economic system and workers owning the means of production, etc. Other people think socialism just means there's healthcare, or that there's free lunch for poor kids at school. So it's like you couldn't the breadth of what people think socialism is just incredible. These terms are just, they end up meaning nothing.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like that type of annoyance that wokeism presents to the world is a lot less dangerous than the coalition that you're a part of that condemns people for having children when they're in gay marriages, or says things like, people that are of particular sexual orientations don't deserve the same equal rights. Would you say that that's something that's
Well,
dangerous?
a coalition is going to have all sorts of people in it. So
it's like
MAGA, if we were talking
ideological
about,
diversity.
yeah,
Right?
if we were talking about what MAGA is, what I like about
So I'll let him keep going, but you might not have realized how he just nailed Dave there. He goes, the coalition you're a part of, where they are, I don't know the term he used, but furious if a gay couple has a child, like adopts a child. Now, Dave is in a gay couple and they've adopted children. So he's saying you're part of a coalition that hates your existence. And he is.
MAGA actually is that it's not a specific set of you have to believe this exact set, right?
Right.
You have to believe
So
these exact
some people in MAGA can
things.
believe like gay couples can have kids, and others can believe like that's degeneracy and those people need to be jailed.
Well,
Those are like the different ideas.
Well, actually, the tough answer to that is yes.
Oh.
As long as you're not trying to litigate someone's life. I am around a lot of conservatives all the time, and
Right.
particularly Christian.
He said not litigate people's life, but are you telling me there aren't MAGA right-wingers who want to make it illegal for gay couples to adopt children? There absolutely are. 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a majority of MAGA supporters want to make it illegal for gay couples to have kids. So, yeah, they want to litigate your life, you idiot. I want to use, I believe, an expression I learned from Star Wars. The grift is strong in this one. Not the force, the grift. I think the grift has made Dave so rich that he's willing to support the people that want to litigate his life into oblivion.
Conservatives, let's say, they generally are not for gay marriage. By the way, there's not one mosque in the United States that performs gay marriages, which is worth noting.
Why are you so focused on Muslims today?
I'm just
Well, yeah, it's a great point. It's like, okay, there's not a mosque that supports gay marriage. Well, that's wrong. I disagree with that as well. I don't like that as well. Like that, I mean, it's a whataboutism. There's times where whatabout actually can matter. This is a whataboutism where it's just garbage. It's like you can't answer, so you're just saying, but those people have a repressive characteristic too.
I'm just giving you. I'm just giving you a fact. But what I have found consistently, Donald Trump was the first first-time president that was for gay marriage.
I actually really want to talk about
Barack
that.
Obama was not for gay marriage when he first came in.
And not until
so
2013.
what I would say is the MAGA movement. I mean, look, Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, is married to a man and has kids. Peter Thiel is married to a man and has kids. Douglas Murray is one of the greatest voices we have in conservatism, happens to be gay.
Yeah.
I don't, for the most part, people on the right.
Douglas Murray is like, if there's a poster child for being pro-genocide, it might be Douglas Murray. Like, he's the British journalist who is run around doing put out a book, run around doing interviews about how awesome the genocide in Gaza is. But yeah, these are lovely people, wonderful people.
Actually believe in individual rights and don't really care, but that doesn't mean
that's where you've lost me, though,
that doesn't mean that everyone has to have the same religious perspective on everything.
But you've been around the block for a long time, and just like you alluded to, in 2016, Trump held up a flag that said LGBTQ for Trump.
Yeah.
He was asked in a CBS interview, "Would you let Caitlyn Jenner use the bathroom that she wants to in your hotels?" He said, "Absolutely." He didn't have a problem with that.
He actually gave a better answer than that. He said, "I'm a hotel builder. If you told me I had to build one bathroom, that would be fine with me." I think it's a great answer.
But that's what's crazy is that evolution has changed so much to the current MAGA movement. The MAGA movement today, Donald Trump would absolutely not say that somebody could use the bathroom aligned with their gender identity. He specifically banned that. And not just that, but he's also just called for, he specifically wrote an executive order that classifies far leftist groups like pro-transgender groups as a danger to the country, which often the entire military can go after. That is insane.
Yes. So, and for those of you listening to the podcast, the fact check on the screen says the White House 2026 released its new U.S. counterterrorism strategy, which explicitly names violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists, anti-fascists such as Antifa, and radically pro-transgender groups as security threats alongside cartels and Islamic terror groups. I covered that on one of the live stream when that came out. But they're saying, and by radically pro-transgender, they just mean people who are transgender or people who support the idea that transgender people can exist in our society and should be able to exist in our society. Like, it's basically being pro-humanity, and Trump is calling that terrorism. And then you have people like Dave Rubin who still support Donald Trump. That's all fine. That form of fascism is all cool.
That is absolutely a violation of people's individual rights.
All right, so you want to talk about the trans issue sort of broadly? I want
to talk about the MAGA coalition.
What I can tell you,
individual liberty, yet wants to police the way that people express
But what are they
themselves,
doing?
That also wants to police people's bodies. That want to go after people specifically because of their ethnicity.
Right.
None of that. Should be
so Donald Trump is in the middle of his second term. Gay marriage is here. It's passed. It's a just cause. I believe in individual rights.
Wait. You're friends with Michael Knowles, right?
Yes.
Well, real quick. His point that gay marriage is passed is like, yeah, basically the right wing has realized that gay marriage for the moment is a lost cause. So they've given up on fighting against it for now until they get some more power, I guess. It's just they realize it's not for the moment a winning issue, but that doesn't mean that they actually support it. I think most right wingers probably do not. But even so, even if you were to say, yeah, most of the right wings come around, they're okay with gay marriage, it doesn't mean they're okay with people just being who they want to be and living their lives how they want to live them. Like, they're absolutely not.
So what's that coalition again called? I think it's like Less Equal, that's trying to actually get rid of Obergefell and overturn gay marriage rights. Does that not concern you?
Well, first off, I've never heard of that specific organization, but what I can tell you...
You're friends with them!
Michael is part of. I just don't know what you're talking about. But what
I
would
look it up right now.
What I would say is
Less Than, and it's Lila Rose, Michael Knowles. I think it's what's that guy's name at the Daily Wire, the head one?
Okay, but that's not Donald Trump.
I understand they want to go away from this.
No, that's not Donald.
I also don't know what he's talking about, but it doesn't surprise me that Dave's a hypocrite and friends with people that are, completely against him, like his lifestyle and who he is.
Trump, that's not the head of the party. I have friends well, first off, Michael and I are friends, but there is a cap on our friendship. There actually is.
Friends with someone who doesn't want you to be in love, my man.
He doesn't want me to be in love. He's had dinner at my house with his wife. My husband cooked for him.
How he's able to be friends with people that completely disagree with his life or who he is because he's a grifter. He's a grifter and a hypocrite. And so he's happy to, if someone has either money or power, and most in our society, money often equals power. Dave's happy to be their friend because that means money and power for him. So it doesn't matter if they're anti-gay. If you got money and power, then come over, have dinner. You're my best buddy. Let's do it.
That's against God. So I want to have a word with him.
But think about it.
Okay, that was pretty funny. Dave said he's come over to my house and my husband cooked for him, and he says that's against God.
Think about what you're saying.
Dave,
think about what I'm saying.
But what I want to say
your name. Wait. Hold on, champ. In your world of how tolerant you are showing me you're actually showing a remarkable amount of intolerance, because although I don't know the group that you're talking about, Michael Knowles as a human being has been to my house, and my husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed evenings together and shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course, the answer to that is no. And if Michael or anyone else was trying to lead some organization that was going to go against my civil rights, well, that is where obviously we would have our difference of opinion, of course.
Dave,
but I also respect.
But he's saying that's where we would separate. That's where we would part hands, or whatever we said, part ways. But apparently not, because if it's true that this guy leads an organization that's anti-gay marriage or anti-gay couples adopting kids, he hasn't parted ways with him. He still calls him a friend. I'm going to fast forward just a little because we've kind of beat this topic to death.
Me is do I agree with, let's just say what you said is true. Do I agree with my...
Okay, so they just put a fact check on the thing that Michael Knowles, apparently the guy they're talking about, actually did post something saying that a video of two men kissing was the most disgusting thing he's ever seen.
Do I agree with Michael's point on that? Of course, the answer is no.
But that is the MAGA coalition.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That is the ideology.
No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition.
That is what the administration is
you're taking a very specific person and you're saying...
Is it a small specific?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
No, it is not.
Yes. Oh, it is.
No,
that's completely absurd. That's completely absurd. It's completely absurd.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Give me a
turn to your seat.
Good grab.
I want to go to your prompt in a second, but I just wanted to address, so I actually come from a Christian background. I spent a lot of my career debating Christian nationalists. And even the nicest Christian nationalists, they do want to take your rights. I spend a lot of time talking to these people, even the really nice ones. So I just want to be careful. And I guess I want to say, like, I remember when you posted about having your kids on Twitter, which congratulations.
Yeah,
on your
thanks.
kids. The comments were horrifying. I don't know if you remember, but it was Christian nationalists and Republicans tearing you and your husband down for having a child.
Well, you should also note there was a lot of love. There was an awful lot of love from an awful lot of conservatives and liberals and people across the board and everything else.
I mean, if it's okay with you guys, I might skip past this part because I think they've beaten this point to death that Dave does not fit in like the group he claims to be a part of, MAGA, right-wingers. They hate his lifestyle, most of them. The majority of them are still do not support gay marriage. They might have accepted that it's here to stay, but they don't support it. And even those who support gay marriage, I think probably a very large percentage say that that it should be legal for gay couples to adopt kids. Because clearly, if you're doing something as disgusting and horrible as being gay, then to bring kids into that household would be such a catastrophe. These are disgusting human beings, and Dave considers himself one of them. I am going to move past because I want to get to some of the like geopolitical stuff, which I think is coming up in maybe not too long, but okay, here we go.
I love this, by the way. You have a very unconventional household, and wokeism has brought you that household, right? To live with your husband, to have your two children, or conceive through surrogacy. And I appreciate that.
Wokeism didn't bring that. Equal rights.
So wokeism is, as I define it, as I view it personally, is looking to expand on already existing civil liberties, right? To ensure that, to ensure America practices what it preaches: equal protections, inclusion of everybody, democracy, etc. So it's not a policy prescription; it's a social prescription. Donald Trump is president. He's the head of the executive branch. He has a trifecta, a judiciary that's on his side. Donald Trump's violent. Donald Trump's destroying the pillars of America: democracy, negative rights, the rule of law, our Constitution. The list goes on and on. So
now this guy's making some okay points, but some of them fit within this idea that democracy was working great, and then Donald Trump showed up. And now he wants to rig the elections. Now, Donald Trump absolutely wants to rig the elections. He also very much wants to run for a third term, although I don't think his brain will be working. I mean, his brain's not working now, but dementia might actually be a better version of Donald Trump. It's possible we should all be rooting for dementia. But so like this guy's clearly very intelligent, but it's a false paradigm. It's within the Overton window. It's within the allowable thought that things were working great under Obama, right? And then Trump showed up and he went after the rule of law. He went after democracy. He's going after these things that were just going great before Donald Trump showed up. It's bullshit. The rule of law in the United States created the world's largest prison system. The world's largest prison state. That was prior to Donald Trump. The rule of law arrests a crazy percentage of black people across America and puts them in prison. 1 out of 3 of all black men will end up in prison at some point. Like unbelievable amounts of racist justice, racist law. That's our rule of law. And that was prior to Donald Trump. Like, the U.S. rule of law, or whatever you want to call it, is what we pretend to be following when we obliterate countries overseas, even prior to Donald Trump, right? Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, those are just recent ones prior to Donald Trump. Syria continued under Donald Trump. But the genocide of the Korean people in the Korean War, the genocide of Vietnamese people, like these things were all done by the United States prior to Donald Trump, and been going on for hundreds of years. If you want to read the first genocide that U.S. troops committed overseas, not Native Americans, but overseas, the first time U.S. troops ever went overseas, they committed genocide. The Philippine-American War, 1898. Go if you feel like it, go read my Substack I just put out on it. reallycamp.substack.com. The U.S. long term has been a genocidal entity. So like, I appreciate where this guy's coming from. He simply because he cares about those things. Like, he clearly cares about democracy, he cares about rule of law, but it is a completely false talking point of like the Democrats that Donald Trump has broken democracy. He has broken the rule of law. No, those things were broken or were garbage prior to Donald Trump.
I'm just curious to see what institutional damage has wokeism done, and
Sure.
if
Well,
you want to engage with Trump being violent, that'd be nice.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just don't agree with anything you said there, period. First off, wokeism isn't what led to, say, gay marriage. What led to gay marriage is a fight for equality under the law. If you believe that heterosexual marriage, that an adult should be.
Now, again, this fight over terms, but that's what wokeism started as, right? Yes, there are times when identity politics can go too far, but what wokeism started as, like the term, like, oh, yeah, that guy's woke, or I'm being woke. It was like caring about others. It was like caring about gay marriage. Like, yeah, I think gay people should be able to live their life however they want to live it. Fucking marriage under the law is stupid to begin with. How about we start there? Yeah, I haven't even gotten into that one. But that's my point. Is like all of this is happening. Most of this discussion, 95% of this discussion between Dave Rubin and these people is within the Overton window. It's within the allowable thought. Some of it is an okay debate, but it's within the allowable thought. Marriage, the idea that you have to go to the federal government to sign a contract to say you're in love is so fucking stupid. It was created, and look, I've been married. Like I'm not, for those of you who are married, I'm not saying don't do it. If it feels right to you, then do the thing. But the idea that like you need to sign some papers so that the government knows, and really how it started was the government knows that the man owns this woman now. That's how it fucking started. That's what, like, it goes back to like men need some paper proof that they own that lady now. That's how it started. That's what it is. And now it's useful for the government to control you in a certain way to, because, you know, once they have you as a married couple, generally people are more likely to have kids. Generally, they're more likely to then get quote unquote settled down. They get jobs where they have to earn an income. So they're less likely to be revolutionary, radical. They're less likely to cause a fuss. They're less, because they got to fucking work all day. Like, it's all part of the game to get you tied into a position where you are within the Overton window. You're within the allowable thought. And it actually is testament to how well it's worked that even these people that are debating a conservative can't think outside of that. Can't even imagine a world outside of that where other people don't own people. Now, I know our view of marriage, luckily, has grown so that it is far more equal than it ever used to be. There's clearly still a patriarchy. There's clearly still, you know, despite women being over 50% of the population, they're what percent of Congress? Is it 20 or something? Maybe 30? I don't remember. But someone in the comments who has time on their hands can Google that. But yeah, it's gotten a little better, but it hasn't really changed the dynamic. Harry in the comments is saying, I'm stuck in the left versus right issues. I think, aren't I ranting right now about how stupid the left versus right issues are? I thought that was my rant. I mean, how stupid the idea of like left, like I'm talking about how their argument of left versus right or this dynamic is not really, it's keeping us within an allowable thought. Anyway, so not sure what you're saying, Harry, but yeah, it's like the idea of marriage is, it's stupid in the sense that it legit was created so that men could own a woman and own land and basically be like, I own this woman and this land and these little people we've made. Sometimes back in the day, it was slaves. And it's basically like, I am the lord of this, this little area, this little fiefdom. And like, that's what it was. And for a long time, you know, it's grotesque to even talk about. For a long time, marital rape was legal. I think it's still on the books in a lot of places. Because if a guy could show the piece of paper saying, hey, look, I own the lady, then, well, it doesn't count as rape. I mean, it's disgusting. John has looked it up. 28% of Congress are women, despite being over 50% of the population. So, yeah. Anyway.
Able to engage in any sort of contract with another adult, then that has to be equal. That's what equal protection, which you just mentioned, is. And that's actually what the decision was based on.
Yes.
So that was not wokeism. That was the promise of America, which is the promise of individual rights.
He doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. Like, both those things can be true, right? It's the promise of civil rights for a larger group of people. Let's expand civil rights. Let's have civil rights for gay people. That was like a woke ideal. I mean, again, this garbage terminology. I'm gonna skip in a minute. We're actually, I'm skipping right now because we're still on claim number 1. When do we get to? Okay, here's claim number. Let's do claim number 2. This is.
My next surrounded claim is if you still vote for Democrats in 2026, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, and broken borders.
If you would like to debate this claim, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
And of course, just the dynamic of the claim is already putting you into that not right versus left, but Democrat versus Republican box. You basically have to argue between these two things that are essentially the same. I mean, they're the same on 80 to 90% of the structural issues of this country, but now we're stuck in this debate that is going to be a garbage debate because of that fact.
Hey, how are you, Santana?
So, can you explain a little bit about what you mean broken cities, broken schools, broken borders?
Sure. Well, broken cities, you can boil it down to crime and drug use. And I can tell you, having been here in Los Angeles for the last 36 hours.
If you want to tear apart goons like Dave Rubin, who, by the way, do they like go to watch American Psycho to like figure out how to do their look? So many of these guys look like they legit watched American Psycho like it was an instruction manual. But anyway, if you want to tear apart, you have to listen to the words they're using. God damn it, what was the word he just used? Fuck.
I mean, broken cities, broken schools, broken borders.
Sure. Well, broken cities, you can boil it down to crime and drug use.
Right. Okay. So a broken city is crime. Well, what he's going to get him into a debate where crime only means street crime. Now, of course, that's not most crime in America. If you look at it monetarily, which is theft, then most crime is done by the uber wealthy. It's white collar crime. It's things like wage theft. McDonald's steals or was caught stealing. I don't know if they still do it, but was caught stealing billions of dollars from people with wage theft. And I'm sure McDonald's got caught, but most companies do it and most don't get caught. It's things like Wall Street and the theft there, predatory lending, all this shit, mass crime. The crime done by white collar billionaires and multimillionaires is so breathtaking that it can't even hold a candle to street crime can't even hold a candle to it. So, but when he says crime, our minds go, oh, he means having your wallet stolen. So I'm there. I'm in he's talking about having the wallet stolen. But that's not actually all of crime. Let's look at all of crime. So this broken cities debate, the broken cities have more crime. Well, no, they don't. Not more white collar crime. Like the breathtaking amount of white collar of the crime by the rich. That's largely done in New York. I guess a lot's done in New York. I don't know. I'm sorry, in Washington, D.C. But, it's a couple of cities. But that's not what they mean. They use these terms to manipulate your way of thinking. And then he says drug use, which, yeah, God, every time I see someone high, I just this city's broken because that guy used drugs. It's just so stupid. It's so, oh God, we're so dumb. It's like, yes, the thing that I would prefer in a community, not like the thing that is not good for a community is someone behaving in a violent way. or breaking windows or something. Someone using a drug, that's not a problem until they commit a different crime. Like, this whole drug war was designed, according to, finally we have the admission of Ehrlichman, Nixon's advisor, who admitted in the 90s, the whole drug war, the modern drug war, was designed to imprison, disrupt, destroy Black communities and activist communities and hippie communities, because they viewed hippies as activists, or enough of them as activists. That's how it got designed. And it continues to this day. And it's succeeded. We're the world's largest prison state. So this stupid conservative talking about, you just say drug use and everyone goes, oh! And it's like, the drug use isn't the problem. The problem is the other crimes that at times are connected to drug use. But if someone destroys their life with drugs, I feel bad for them. I think that sucks. But I don't know why that hasn't harmed my life. Like, it's so funny. They want to believe in personal freedom, but then they're like, that new person used drugs, arrest them. That's not personal freedom. Drugs should be a health issue. We should have all kinds of free health care for people that have drug issues, all kinds of free rehab, all kinds of free everything to help people develop their lives into a place that they're happier. But it shouldn't be a crime issue. You shouldn't be locked up in a cage because you used a drug, because you own a drug. Fucking dumb. Not to mention the most used drug in America is alcohol.
I can tell you, having been here in Los Angeles for the last 36 hours, I have seen more homeless people, more drug use, more urban decay than I've seen in the last 5 years combined living in Florida.
Yeah, there's living in Florida. There's no drug use in Florida. Yeah, nobody's using drugs in Florida. I haven't even seen any in Florida. Florida doesn't even have drugs. Oh my God, dude. I don't know if I've ever, like, I haven't been to Florida that much, but the times I've been there, I have like never seen more like alcohol abuse to the level of like puking on sidewalks, like aggressive alcohol abuse, but also aggressive drug use. Yeah, it's in a lot of places. It's like, the fuck? Yeah, Miami doesn't have any connection to drugs. He lives in probably one of the top, 3 states for drugs, 4 states for drugs. And he's like, I've been in California for a few days. I've never seen so many drugs.
Florida?
Yeah. In terms of schools, it's basically brainwashing kids and teaching them what to think instead of teaching them how to think. And then what was the third one? In terms of borders is the easiest one. I mean, under the Biden administration, we let in somewhere, we don't even know what the actual number is, but somewhere between 16 to 20 million illegals. If Donald Trump did quite literally nothing.
Oh God, these are the type of sentences where it's like trying to break down just the lies and propaganda within his sentences is really tough. But I'll let him keep going in a second. But just the term illegals, you're defining a person's entire life. This is a human being. Remember, you should come through all thought through a like humanity first lens outside of the environment. It should really be environment first. If humans have to die off to protect the flowers, then I say let's do it. No, but like the idea that someone's entire life is defined by their decision to try and sometimes save their life, save their kids' lives, sometimes just have a better life by coming across a border, that doesn't make them illegals. Their entire life, it's the same with drug addicts. Their entire life is defined by that one moment that they walked from over there to over here. And now they're an illegal for their whole, they do nothing else, right? They don't interact with their community. They don't have kids. They don't have a father and a mother and maybe a marriage. And they don't have a life. They don't have all kinds of work that they enjoy, passions they enjoy. They don't make art. No. They're just illegals. That's all they do is run around being illegal. It's just so stupid. Again, this brain rot where you can't even like give a sentence with someone where they don't like every word is like, what? Like sit and think about that word for a second. It's so garbage. But yeah, I may hopefully a lot of you heard my rant on borders, just in general. But anyway.
Thing else in his presidency, just getting control of the border, I would say would be good enough, because you don't have a country if you don't know who is in it.
Okay, all three of your claims are wrong. Pick which one you want to be proved wrong on.
I like that.
Let's do borders.
Perfect.
Okay.
Donald Trump is absolutely the worst president on the border. First and foremost, you can talk about the Langford bill, which was a piece of legislation which would have strengthened our borders, but Donald Trump had that legislation shot down.
Wait. So were the borders open under Obama?
No.
Or under Biden? Let's try that. The borders were not open.
What piece of legislation
we did not
that he passed to open the borders?
No, it's not about a piece of legislation. It's about quite
so how do
literally
you open the borders without legislation.
You just let people through, which is exactly what we're doing.
There was no one standing at the borders.
Well, two things. One is Dave Rubin's lying. The borders were not open. Like, Biden deported an astronomical number of people. When I was skipping around earlier, I did see this part where later he talks about how many people Obama deported. Democrats deport a crazy number of people. Okay, just unbelievable. Donald Trump is trying to beat that, and he may beat Obama's record of deporting people, but already, and again, I agree. I think the guy who's called left here in this discussion is coming from a good place, but already we've been forced into the Overton window, which is the idea that we need to debate whether someone did a good job beating up immigrants. And the so-called left winger here is arguing that Biden did a good job beating up immigrants and Obama did a good job beating up immigrants. And then Dave's going to say, no, they didn't do a good job beating up immigrants. Trump has done a better job beating up immigrants. You've already lost. You've already lost the discussion because you're just arguing about whether this president or that president deported more people. Like, it's so garbage. Now, I think maybe later he mentions that we destroy countries overseas. And then when we do that, either economically or otherwise, we've destroyed a lot of countries economically, as I said, overseas, but Latin America specifically. And then we're shocked when people want to come to the United States because they've been sold this bill of goods that the U.S. is free and equal and liberty, and many of them like watch CNN, so they're fed U.S. propaganda, and so they try and get to the United States where they think there will be freedom and justice and these things that we don't actually have. So already you've been forced into this debate between which one of our genocidal, war criminal, asshole, racist in terms of immigrants, presidents did a better job throwing people out of the country when we've destroyed their country and they were seeking a better life for their kids. Like, what a disgusting place to argue from. What a horrific place to start from in this discussion.
Everybody just come right in.
In many cases, yes, actually. In many cases, they were quite literally moving barbed wire fence.
Where did you get this information?
There are videos of it. Have you ever seen the video of Bobby?
Did you fact check the videos?
Have you ever seen the video of Bobby Kennedy when he was running as a Democrat, standing at the border? He was still a Democrat.
Wait, you're talking about the same one that sniffed coke out of a toilet seat and admitted it recently?
No.
The same one that actually took a dead bear and dropped it in Central Park. The same one that actually chopped the head off a whale. You're citing RFK Jr.?
Yes, I am citing RFK Jr.
No, I don't hear that.
Now, this debate's gotten a little unhinged in many ways, but all those things are true about RFK, by the way. He legit, I don't know if you know those stories. He legit, for years, like there was an article in the New York Times, for years they didn't know who had dropped a dead baby bear in Central Park. There was an article in the New York Times about a dead baby bear, because there aren't bears in Central Park. A dead baby bear in Central Park, and who would do such a thing? Who would kill a bear? Who has a bear? And why would you drop it in Central Park? And then years later, like, I don't know, recently, RFK Jr. admitted it was him. He apparently had seen someone hit a bear on the road, decided to put the dead bear in his car, drove around with it, thought he was going to take it back to his place, but ended up staying all night, getting drunk and gambling with friends or something, and needed to get on a plane, realized he had a dead, rotting bear carcass in his trunk, so he dropped it in Central Park. He is insane. Insane. and he found a dead whale on the beach and he chopped its head off. And you can imagine how large a whale head is, and then tied the head to the roof of his car and drove down the highway with his friends. Said that whale guts and, just fucking blood and bile were pouring down the side windows of the car as they drove down the highway. He's the head of Health and Human Services. All right, I'm going to skip a little because I already told you why this debate on borders is fucking dumb, but
He had a negative deportation rate.
Let's do Biden and Trump. Biden and Trump. Let's do the last two administrations.
Just the question. Yes.
So he doesn't want to mention Obama because Obama deported more people than any other president. I think he still has that record. Trump is trying to beat that record of deportation. But the truth is, Trump is arresting so many people, and many of them have not committed any crime. Many of them are here legally, so that most of them are being just locked up and awaiting some kind of, they don't really get a trial, but awaiting some kind of judge. So most of them are just in detention centers, like concentration camps here in the United States, rather than being deported. But anyway, we're still on this border debate.
To the country?
The point being,
Well,
our country
come
has
on,
a history of
come on,
destabilization. That doesn't
come on.
matter if it's left
Hold
or
on.
right.
So who did
We have a
Barack? Well,
history of that.
I'm just
But
playing
answer the
your
question.
game here. So,
So
who?
if-
Wait, I'm just
if
playing
Donald
your game,
Trump
man.
created
Wait.
the need for people
Yeah.
to come here, and there was no crisis, then Donald Trump not only created it, but he didn't handle it.
I'm sorry, man. Nothing you're saying is making sense here. What you
What was
won't?
Donald
you
Trump
won't-
Okay, we got pause there. You've been both.
But this is part of the problem when you have someone who's trying to defend the Democratic presidents. They're garbage too. There's no need to defend them. They are capitalist, war criminal, genocidal maniacs. And the idea that you got to be like, no, Obama did a good job is just like coming at it from that angle. You're going to lose every time because he was the same shit. He represented a global hegemon capitalist country that has done more harm to people, human beings, the environment than arguably any country over the past several decades. And for a while, Obama was the figurehead. Like,
what country did Barack Obama destabilize that caused people to come here under Donald Trump?
I guess you'll never know.
Okay, you've been voted out.
what country did Barack Obama destabilize? Barack Obama, we had economic sanctions on a lot of countries. And besides economic sanctions, we've just been destroying them for generations. I mean, you look at Haiti, you look at Panama, you look at what we've done to Venezuela. All of this was still going on under Obama. I mean, the list goes on. We used lawfare to put Lula into prison. We created coups in Bolivia. Some of these were Obama, some were Biden, some were Trump, but created coups. And some of the chat says Syria, but I'm talking about the ones that provide more of the immigrants to the United States. Venezuela, we used lawfare to put Lula into prison. Bolivia, Ecuador. We have couped all of these countries. Some of them undo their coups, luckily. But yeah, we destroy these countries. And even the ones that undo their coups and are able to get a slightly better, slightly more human rights centered president or government in, then the U.S. puts economic war on these countries. And often, like in the case of Venezuela, there were a lot of people leaving Venezuela. Fleeing Venezuela. Why? Because the U.S. was doing economic war on Venezuela under Obama, under Biden, under Trump. And it's tough to get by. And so there are, especially right-wingers, but there are people in Venezuela who go, it's really tough to get by here. I'm going to flee to America. Yeah. So there are plenty of answers to Dave Rubin's question where Dave Rubin thought he had a gotcha there. He doesn't have a gotcha at all.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, what's your name? What's your name?
My name is Maybe. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Good to meet you.
So I myself am a Democrat. I'm actually running for state senate here in California.
Okay.
I would argue that I am about as far left as you can get as a Democrat.
Okay.
And I'm critical of the Democrats.
Which is not very far if you understand how the Democrats work. But yeah.
Democratic Party because I actually don't think they're left enough. If we're going to talk about broken cities, here we are in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not a broken city. I live here. I feel safe walking down the streets as an openly trans, non-binary person, as somebody who does drag. This is not a broken city. It is unaffordable in many ways, but that is the case across the rest of the United States. And if we're going to talk about broken cities, we actually need to talk about broken states. 8 out of the 10 poorest states in the United States are Republican controlled. And the majority of states.
That's very true, by the way. I've had a theory that, maybe someone could prove me wrong one day, but my theory is that, so a lot of Democrats across the United States, even though they don't quite understand why the Democrats keep failing them, their heart is in the right place, I think. People can argue with me. I'm talking about not the people in government. I'm talking about just Democrats across America. They want people to have an okay life. Like, they want people's medical care coverage to be paid for. They want, people to live their lives, gay people to get married. Their heart is in the right place. The blue areas of the country, like the strongly blue areas, even in red states, the strongly blue areas are generally places with a lot more people. And I think that if you interact with a bunch of people that are not your, just your type, I interact with 90% white people and I don't like those others. But if you interact with kind of all types of people, you generally end up slightly more left. Like, that's why these areas are blue. That's why the areas with population across the country are blue. And I lived in New York I live in Baltimore now, also a blue area, but I lived in New York City for 12 years. Like, you can't go through the world without interacting with all types of people. Whereas if you live out in the boondocks, you can go several years without interacting with a black person or a Hispanic person or what have you, or a trans person or a gay person. And so I think if you meet other humans, you tend to support other humans. Like, that seems to be, that's just a theory, but seems to be the case. Why are all the blue areas more populated? Does someone have a better explanation? I don't know.
States that are the wealthiest states are democratically controlled. And these are actually donor states to Republican states. And the irony is that Republicans are against welfare, except when it comes to funding their states.
Okay. Well, first off,
very true. Dave Rubin will now dodge perhaps one of the better points that person made, which is that this idea of welfare. Oh, it's horrible when it's like a poor single mother getting, food for her child. Oh, fucking welfare. But it's great when it's a state getting, weapons contractor money or whatever. Like, that's all. When Congress puts a bunch of pork in for, fucking Missouri, that's the good kind of welfare. The bad kind of welfare is when a black kid gets to eat lunch. Like, what the fuck?
First of all, I would say I'm very glad that as a trans person, you feel safe here. You should feel safe. And I treat anyone that treats me with respect, you're going to get respect out of me. So I appreciate that. And I'm glad to hear it. I assume you've been to West Hollywood, right?
I have.
I used to live in West Hollywood, pretty close to the Abbey.
Like the idea of respect. You're going to respect anyone who respects you, but you support genocide. So that's not respecting those Palestinians. You might respect a Palestinian that's like sitting across from you. If one of them is at this debate and they sit in that chair and you go, I respect you, because you're talking to me nicely. Well, that's not really showing respect for everyone. You don't respect the people that we obliterate with our bombs every fucking day, you hypocrite. You're going to get respect from me if no, that's not respect. You're a psychopath.
And I left about I moved to the Valley before that, but I lived there for about 6 years. And the 6 years that I lived there, from about 2013 to 2019, it was pretty clean and it was pretty safe. And there weren't drug addicts and homeless people all over the place.
Two things. One is, were Democrats not running it then too? His argument that I'm sure he's going to is Democrats run the Hollywood and they run California and the Democrats suck and it's being destroyed. Democrats were running LA when he lived there too. And he just said it was clean. and nice. And basically, so the second thing I wanted to say about this is this idea of like clean just means there aren't drug addicts around, which again, like, oh, there's so much where like just the terminology is meant to make you think a certain way. The idea that someone's entire life should be defined by drug addict is just like fucking awful. But you know, I don't consider I consider investment bankers to be dirty, disgusting human beings. I consider hedge fund managers to be dirty, disgusting human beings. Like, to me, that's dirty. That's gross. Their souls are dirty. But if you were to walk down a street next to them, it'd probably look clean. But I would find that more repulsive than being near a homeless person. But to Dave, who is a multimillionaire grifter, clean means that there aren't any homeless near him, because they're gross and he doesn't want them near him.
I spent the last 2 days there in West Hollywood. That's the hotel I'm staying at is there. There are drug addicts and homeless people everywhere. You would acknowledge that is the case, yes?
I would acknowledge that, but I would also acknowledge that there are plenty of housed people who are also drug addicts, and they never seem to be the problem. It's only when they're existing in poverty, abject poverty outside, that you have to witness it, that it becomes a problem.
That is well said. That should have been a mic drop, but I get that you got to keep talking in these debates. But yeah, and by the way, you know how many of these so-called friends like Dave Rubin has, like Peter Thiel? You know how many? I don't know about Peter Thiel, I assume, but I don't know about Peter Thiel. But you know how many of these billionaire, multimillionaire friends of Dave Rubin's are fucking coke addicts or snorting Adderall or prescription pill addicts? Like, they're all whacked out of their minds. Elon Musk, I'm not saying Dave Rubin's friends with Elon Musk, but I'm just saying those type of people, many of them, if not most of them, are drug addicts. It just doesn't matter when it's those kind of drugs. It doesn't matter when it's the nice rich guy kind of drugs. It doesn't matter when you don't have to see the drugs in front of you. This whole drug addict argument is just shit. It's a shit argument. It's a way to define human beings so that you can get people who used to care about all human beings, like your average maybe Democrat across America, and you go, there's drug addicts there. And a lot of these people in America, suburbia, go, ooh. It's a way to define human beings so that we don't have to care about them. That's the end of the discussion. That's all it is. You call them a drug addict, game over, disgusting, gross. Yeah, like fucking, I bet you he'd call Hunter Biden a drug addict, right? But that one's okay. That's the only rich person it's okay to call a drug addict, because then you're making fun of a Democrat or you're insulting a Democrat. Now, I do find Hunter Biden disgusting for his hypocrisy. But yeah, you know, his father is responsible for the 94 crime bill. That is one of the people responsible for it. That's doubled the prison population in the United States. But yeah, only certain kind of drug addicts. They're the only problem ones. Okay, as I was saying when we got into this, I was going to see how long until I couldn't bear it anymore. We're getting close. We're getting close to my breaking point.
Issue is not that these people are dangerous. The mythology around people experiencing homelessness is that they are dangerous. The reality is that unhoused people are more likely to be victims of violent crime than perpetrators.
Well, all right. So listen, I can actually get on board some of what you're saying here. Now, there's a couple issues here, because one of them is not just about violence. If you are going to...
I just want to read for the podcast listeners. There's a fact check on the screen that says, research local data consistently show that unhoused people are far more likely to be victims of violent crime than commit it, with rates of assault, sexual violence, and even homicide many times higher than for the general population. They are victims. Yeah, and of course, again, this is the thing that's in that they're keeping us with inside the Overton window, with inside acceptable debate. But to mention homelessness or just poverty in general, it's the result of capitalism. It's the result of a market economics that is that the gravity of capitalism will always enrich a small number of people. It will then destroy the lives of many, and some of them end up homeless. Some of them end up in just extreme poverty, and that's how it works. And that's how capitalism works. I have a whole bit on my. I have a new stand-up half hour that should come out in not too long, and in that I have like a 10-minute bit about how, like, homelessness didn't used to be a thing, you know, like You go back to the days of tribes or hamlets or Ewok tree fort villages or whatever. And if someone said, I don't have a home, then the whole tribe or group would go, you don't have a home? We'll build you a home. And that was the end of it. That was the end of the discussion. It's only within market economics and capitalism and wage slavery that that homelessness is even a thing, or it could be a thing. And then, of course, you have the examples of like people have tried to give homes to the homeless, and like many times cities and states will destroy them. They'll bulldoze tiny homes to make sure homeless people aren't there. Like, it's crazy.
Create the conditions, the economic conditions, or whatever you want to call it, that's going to allow for these people to be out on the streets. Would you want to walk a baby in a carriage down that block as these people are there? I don't think
I
you
would.
want
I
to.
would
Okay.
because I don't know the last time I've heard of an unhoused person attacking a baby. And these are
That's so true. Like these like right-wing talking points like, do you want to have a baby near a homeless person? Oh God, these people are garbage human beings. It's like, I don't think I want to have a baby near a psychopath, which is why I wouldn't keep a baby near Dave Rubin. I mean, oh God, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, homeless people always assaulting babies. Jesus Christ. Okay, since I only have about like 5 more minutes left in me, let's jump to one more topic. I don't know. We'll hit the randomizer button and we'll see what happens.
GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
I don't think you do.
So in the clips I've seen going viral, this is the clip where it's like Dave Rubin is out of his depth by the most simple question. The simple question was, tell me what Trump's done that has made your life better. And Dave Rubin, Mr. MAGA, Mr. Love Trump, Mr. Trump does no wrong, no answer. Doesn't have an answer. Oh, I should have said this at the beginning, that I did see a like 1 minute thing of Dave Rubin responding to this catastrophic debate, which many are calling career ending. And his excuse for why he did so poorly was that all these people, the 20 people that debating him, they looked really mean and they looked angry. Like legit. He said, I saw the look in their eyes and they hated me and they looked like they were going to kill me. Like that made him not know basic facts as to why Trump is awesome. I don't even like, it's the most pathetic cope I've heard in a while. These people looked at me mean, so I forgot why Trump rocks.
You think, hold on. So you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth is better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off.
So I don't think anything he's saying is false. But we're still within that allowable debate, right? Biden better than Trump. Let's be grown-ups and think about a world outside of Biden v. Trump. Let's think of a world where we actually have like a sustainable, like good society that supports all and like no one's miserable and struggling and unhappy. Let's discuss that. But no. And you know, this guy clearly seems smart. I just like, again, I think his heart's probably in the right place. What does this dumb red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican worldview do? It takes people like him that should be thinking about how to make this world better outside of these two parties. And his whole brain is inside these two parties, as is Dave Rubin's. And you're stuck within, as George Galloway says, two cheeks of the same backside. You're still stuck in the same ass. Our world is ass, and we're just arguing about which cheek is better.
You tell me anything that he's done to make it better off. You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at
Okay, defining success in our world is growth for the stock market. Yay! Corporations are doing better. Yay! Capitalism has grown. By the way, infinite growth is cancer. Infinite growth in all areas, whether you look at infinite growth of a species in nature, infinite growth of cancer, infinite growth of a virus, however you want to define infinite, like in any area, infinite growth long term equals what? Death. It equals death every time. Sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it takes a little bit. Infinite growth equals death. So even the so-called left-winger here, it has out his pom-poms and is cheering for our death. Like, that's how successful the indoctrination has been. The people who actually give a shit about fellow human beings are still cheering for our death. It's unbelievable. Like, it's incredible. It's just amazing how good this indoctrination is. So it's just unbelievable. And you know, the analogy I use whenever people say the stock market's doing well, so that means society rocks. For most corporations, their stock does better when the workers are most effectively suppressed, held down, getting lower pay, don't have much leverage, don't have much control. That's when corporation stock does really well. And so right now, you have a lot of stocks. By the way, we're also a AI bubble that's going to burst at any moment. But that aside, so right now, corporations are doing really well at suppressing workers. Workers don't have much power. The percent of unions across America now is what? Unionized labor is what? 10% or something? Tiny percentage of workers. Even those unions don't have much power. The minimum wage hasn't increased in 17 years. The workers are just struggling. Like, the amount they make per hour versus the amount we got to pay for groceries and shit is way out of whack. The amount CEOs are making is through the roof. So stock's doing good. Stocks do good when workers are abused. And it's my analogy that I've used for a long time is saying the society is doing great because the stock market is doing well, as Dave Rubin just said, is like looking at the leeches on a dead man's skin or a dying man's skin and going, the leeches look healthy. All is fine. The leeches are good.
Dow Jones and S&P 500.
They're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower
doing quite well. You know, things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example, things don't. That's true. That's true.
Things don't happen overnight, even though he's been in office for like a year and a half, and he already was in office for 4 years. But any minute now, shit's gonna be great.
Reality. There's actual reality. Like, you put policies into place and they don't just kick in the next day, right?
Well, Donald Trump, a year and a half.
Donald Trump said when the tariffs,
he said in a year, prices would be down 50% for electricity. Are they up right now?
Hold on. Donald Trump, when he brought in the whole idea of tariffs, would you agree that for the last 4 decades, we have had completely lopsided trade deals with all of these countries where
that's going to burst at any moment. But that aside, so right now, corporations are doing really well at suppressing workers. Workers don't have much power. The percent of unions across America now is what? Unionized labor is what? 10% or something? Tiny percentage of workers. Even those unions don't have much power. The minimum wage hasn't increased in 17 years. The workers are just struggling. Like, the amount they make per hour versus the amount we got to pay for groceries and shit is way out of whack. The amount CEOs are making is through the roof. So stock's doing good. Stocks do good when workers are abused. And it's my analogy that I've used for a long time is saying the society is doing great because the stock market is doing well, as Dave Rubin just said, is like looking at the leeches on a dead man's skin or a dying man's skin.
Relationships with countries all around the world.
No,
it's
well,
costing.
when you say destroying relationships,
it's costing consumers here in this country. A Federal Reserve report just came out, indicated that we'd be below pre-pandemic levels of inflation if Donald Trump never imposed the tariffs in the first place. Meaning we'd be able to bring down interest rates.
Hold on.
This kid's just running laps around Dave Rubin. If you wanna remain inside the Democrat Republican talking points, this kid's runing laps.
We'll be able to increase investment within our economy and bring more jobs back.
Hold on. When you say destroying our relationships with other countries, well, other countries were getting sweet deals, right?
Yeah, it's been so sweet for all the other countries that we have economically destroyed. The United States, Western countries in general, have economically extracted the rest of the world. I think I'm going to wrap up on this point because I've done over an hour and a half, getting kind of exhausted. We've economically destroyed so many countries. We have economic war on a lot of countries. Even many of the ones we don't have full economic war on, we're still extracting from them. Most of Africa, do you think, like most of Africa is, in terms of relative terms, very poor, right? Most of Africa is very poor. Is that because they don't have resources? No. Why is it? It's because the Western world has set up deals and set up economic situations, put in puppet governments, defined their nations, and extracted from Africa for hundreds of years. Like is it 1855? I always get the year wrong, but Berlin Conference, when a bunch of white guys in Berlin, the United States was there, but it was mainly run by Germany and Britain and a few others, Belgium, put a map of Africa on the wall and divvied it up. Most nation state lines across Africa were decided by a group of white men in a boardroom in the mid 1800s, drawing lines across Africa and saying, I get this, you get that. Like insane colonial shit. And so, and Dave Rubin wants you to believe, all the other countries have had such sweetheart deals with the United. Have they? Or have we exploited them to the tune of, I believe I want to say 242, but the number could be wrong. I know it's over 200. $242 trillion extracted from the global south to the global north, to the Western, to US and Europe over the past, I think, 200 years. It's over 200 trillion, whatever it is. And those are the sweetheart deals we have. So yeah, Dave Rubin spitting these garbage, right-wing talking points. Okay. Hour and a half about sums it up for me. Hour and 40 minutes. If you think you have gotten 33 cents out of this hour and a half marathon, then please join up at reallycamp.substack.com. It's $8 a month. It's basically buy me a beer. Buy me a beer a month. Reallycamp.substack.com. I brought you this special live stream. I think, unless I collapse in a heap, I think I'm still having my live stream tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. You can also sign up at patreon.com/LeeCamp. That's patreon.com/LeeCamp or LeeCamp.net, my locals page. Everybody who supports me on those platforms, thank you. You guys make my work possible. Unlike Dave Rubin, who gets, at one point he had a deal with a Russian company to get $400,000 a month. Unlike Dave Rubin, who's a multimillionaire, I scrape by with you guys throwing me a beer a month. And I don't have any corporate sponsors, unlike Dave Rubin, unlike all of these people selling you, testosterone pills or whatever. I just try and do it like this. Now, I'm not saying there'll never be a company that, sells green juice or something that am not willing to support. I'm just saying no corporations are willing to advertise on an anti-corporate show. And on top of that, the ones that have reached out to me, I'm not willing to support them. So it means that basically you guys decide if the show keeps going, and I hope you will. That's reallycamp.substack.com. And I'll see you tomorrow, likely. And keep fighting. By the way, my podcasts are called Government Secrets, Common Censored, and The Lee Camp Show. Lee Camp Show also called Moment of Clarity on some of the platforms. And keep fighting.